taken off in 5, 4, 3, 2. Yo. It's your boy, T.O. as you know.
It's your boy, O-Rain, real name, no games, no gimmicks.
Yo, it's the motherfucking Fade Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything TV, medium from related, along with any of the goddamn thing we want to talk about. Coming to you live, direct, Proof Concept Studios. Oh, man, the podcast before the podcast. It's always an interesting conversation.
Yeah, we always end up running over. I tried.
No, you did. You did try several times. It was just, it was all points. So we're going to talk, there's going to be like a whole thing that we talk about this with, but there's a thing, the thing that drives me craziest in the middle of a conversation or debate is when the person I'm speaking to, in this case you, don't actually engage with the actual thing that I'm saying, but you impress upon it the thing in which you think I'm saying. And then when I like restate it, and I understand, you're even doing it now. You're not actually engaged. You're about to. Yeah, you're about to. It's fine. It's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think that's because I think you like to control conversations, right? Mm-hmm. So if someone doesn't respond to your question or your comment in the way that you wanted them, you feel as if they're not engaging with what you said because they didn't respond how you wanted them to.
Mm-hmm. No,
an immediate no.
Yeah, no.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure. Here's the difference, right? If you say something and I just simply don't agree with you, then I'll say, okay, yeah, I just think that's silly and I don't agree with it, right? But if you don't actually deal with the response, like say if I say peanut butter and jelly is fucking delicious together, and your response to me is salmon tastes great. I'm like, you didn't actually, you said something in response. It had nothing to do with the fuck I just said, right? Like you, and what I realized is it's kind of like I don't know if it's a thing that people do on purpose. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. Most people don't do it on purpose. In terms of, you kind of hear what you think I'm saying, because before, like, as I get out like 5 words, you've already formed, oh, this is what you're trying to say, right? Instead of actually like listening through and hearing exactly what it is that I'm saying. So therefore, when you respond, you're not responding to my the full context of what I'm saying. You're responding to just the first 5 words, and then everything else to you is just like white noise because you weren't actually listening past that.
What if the statement is peanut butter and jelly taste great together, and the response is unless you have peanut allergies or unless you just don't like peanut butter?
Bet you're right.
See, but I feel like in that situation, you'd also be like, no, respond to the thing that I said, like engage with the thing that I said. Where it's like I just saw it from another lens, or like that comment gave me a different idea or perspective or response that's still engaging, but it's just not engaging.
Can I fill everybody in on what we were talking about in order to give them context? We're not gonna hash it out,
and then it's gonna jump straight into this thing that I want to talk about really quickly. So yeah.
So basically, there's like an echo. Is it because our headphones are too high?
I'm not picking up an echo.
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I can hear a slight echo. Or maybe it's the computer. Oh, I think it's because the laptop was the audio on the laptop was turned up. Maybe. Okay, so basically we're talking about like the idea of having many sexual partners at a very young age, right? And the basis of the crux of what I was trying to say was that if you have sex with, like, let's say 50 some odd people before you're 20, then that's an indication to me that your relationship with sex is not just, it's just physical, I just really like sex. There's something deeper to it than that, right? And I'm saying that not from I'm judging you based on the fact that if you want to have sex with 50 people, I don't give it, like, I personally don't give a shit, right? If you have sex with 50 people. Sure?
Right, continue.
Yes, thank you for proving my point for me.
I don't think I proved your point at all.
You did, because the point that you proved is you keep thinking that I think it's morally a wrong thing to have sex with that many people. I don't think it's a moral thing. I'm not even viewing it from a moral lens. But what I am saying is that, especially that young, if you've had sex with that many people, then that means that sex with you isn't just sex. There's something else going on beneath the surface with it. If you said you had sex with 5 people and you just had casual sex with 5 people, okay, I'd be like, all right, yeah, that sounds about right to me. Having sex with, yeah, and I would argue maybe by the age of 20, it depends on who you are. Actually, kind of speaking to what you're speaking to in terms of like availability, yada, yada, right? I think that all plays a factor into it, right? But I don't think that there's anything morally wrong with 5 people or 50 people. But what I am saying is that it's an indicator that there's something going on beneath the surface, that you're doing something else with sex that isn't just the physical act. You're seeking something else in sex that isn't just, I just want to nut and I wanted to be with this person, right? Like this person I saw, across the street, right? It's not just that. There's something more going on. But you kept saying that you kept relating it to you weren't using the actual term moral, but that's effectively like what you're saying. You're saying like, well, you have an actual issue. You're judging people for doing this. And did you not say you judge people for doing this?
I don't think I ever said like you're judging them.
Addie, please.
Yeah, you
Come on.
You 100% did.
I said like, wait, and tell me what I said. I just want to, for the record.
You did not use the word moral, but what you were saying is the way you guys are presenting this, it makes it sound like a bad thing.
Or that you're judging them.
That we're judging.
So wait, did I say they're judging them or not?
You said both. You said that you see it as you said we talked about it a while. You said that we view it as like a bad thing, and that it sounds like you guys are judging them, the person.
I don't remember. So what I
oh my god,
what
you
I
don't
said,
remember that at all.
I don't remember saying that. Like I don't even remember using the word judge because like what I tried to say was like my main goal was that the way we view sex in the United States is we view it as something like very taboo. People don't even like talking about it. People who do it all the time don't even like talking about it, right? Can't talk about it on TV for a lot of reasons, right? Some things are political, some things are just religious, some things are cultural, right? Depending on where you were raised, where you were brought up, right? And people have a tendency to look at other people's sexual behavior, and if it's something that they're not comfortable with, we'll say, oh, there's probably something going on there, and that's why this person's having so much sex. Like there's a deeper thing. There's got to be a reason there. And what it sounds like you guys were saying is more than likely that reason is something negative, right? Meaning they have like they're linking sex to some type of like trauma or some type of hurt or some type of
listen. Literally, go back and listen to what I just said.
Listen
here.
For a second.
Oh my god!
What I'm saying is, your tone whenever you guys talk about it, right? It was coming from a place where it sounded like you were linking that behavior to something negative, right? My stance, my perspective on it is that, like, I think for the most part, sex in the United States is viewed as, for the most part, taboo. We don't like to talk about it. And anyone who exhibits sexual behavior that is not like what we define as the norm, our very like controlled social norm, we view it as like, oh, that person must have something wrong with them. They probably don't. They're probably just a normal person who has a sex life that is not normal to us, but is normal to them and people who like them. And I don't really think 50 people in a year is that much. I do agree that, from high school, like either there's something going on there or it is just a matter of options, availability, resources, blah, blah, blah.
Look, I'm going to add just one quick point to it. At no point when we were discussing this, when we were saying, hey, there is this person who's smashing 50 people a year, what is the reason? We weren't saying that specific reason is a bad reason. You took it as this is a bad thing. We are saying there is a reason. There is something that is making you feel that this is the norm, that this is the way I should act, and I haven't changed. Because, we discussed how we acted, in our formative years in high school to how we act now. And it's completely different.
This is the cover up. Listen, you guys can cover this up all you want. Whenever anyone says that your behavior has an underlying issue, what they're saying is that, like, I have an issue with it, or I think...
Interesting. That's an interesting way of viewing it.
Or I think that your behavior is problematic in some way.
Rewind that
right?
back. What did you say? What you just said? Say that one more time.
Whenever someone says to another person that there's an underlying issue behind the behavior that you're exhibiting, that generally comes with a negative connotation. They're not saying
that wasn't exactly what you just said. Just to be clear.
I didn't actually rewind myself.
I know.
I'm trying my best to. What did I actually say?
You said that it's an indication that there's an underlying issue and that I would have a problem with it. Maybe you didn't use those exact words, but that's
no. Like I think you're right. I think like I or like society would say
have a
that
problem
like
with it.
there is an
right.
like,
and I
issue.
think that's what I'm trying to be very crystal clear in what I'm saying. I don't have an issue with somebody fucking 50 people a year, I don't give a shit. Like, it's not me. Like, I don't fucking care.
You're
right?
saying for them, there's an underlying issue.
What I'm saying is, for that person, you're making the assertion that sex is just sex. I'm saying that is not true. That for that person, sex isn't just sex. They're seeking something else within the sex that is deeper than just the physical act.
So
of having
you're
it.
saying that someone that exhibits the behavior of like sleeping with 50 people within a year, you're saying that they have more than likely they have an underlying issue.
Correct words, more than likely.
Yes.
Yes.
And my question is like, why do you?
Do you want to know?
Why do you feel that way? I think
you want to know.
I think it's
there
because
you
you
go.
feel more
You're
conservative.
not
I'm
gonna
going to let you
say.
speak, but I think it's because you have a more conservative view on sex. Therefore, you view many sexual partners as in some way problematic. Therefore, there must be an underlying issue.
No,
You're kind of caught up on the word issue.
Yeah. He is, but let me
not say it?
He is, but let me finish. Let me.
Then
respond.
we're going to jump to this next thing.
That's fair. I want to respond to what you just said. The reason why I would say that they have some underlying issue, even though they're doing something different than I do, right? Isn't because I'm comparing them to my life. I'm saying for us as a human species, right? Like this is typically what we do, right? If somebody starts trying to fucking eat a cheeseburger with their ass instead of putting it in their mouth, I'm gonna be like, well, that's fucking unusual. That's really fucking weird, right? That's not typical of human beings. We don't usually eat stuff with our ass rather than our mouth, right? There are things that we exhibit over and over again as human beings that might differ on a spectrum, but if you see something that's completely outside of the norm, meaning that you just looked up, and I don't again know how credible the site was or whatever the case is, but I would argue that those are probably relatively safe numbers to have, right?
Yeah,
I'm
willing to believe them.
Yeah, it's like the country that had the most sexual partners, like different sexual partners, was Turkey, and it was like 14, right? Mm-hmm. That sounds about right to me, right? That the average number of partners that a person would have, even in the most adventurous country. I'm not saying Turkey's the most adventurous country, but as far as like different sexual partners, it's 14 people. That's wildly different than 50. That's a really different number. That's almost I'm bad at math. That's like 80, almost 80. It's a 70% markup.
Yeah, it's about
somewhere. I'm terrible at math. So that's like a 70% markup, right? On what the average is, right? So I feel like I can say with some comfort that is a unique thing to do. And if you're doing unique things, there has to be underlying reasons for it. I just, before you guys came over, I was like straightening up and doing things or whatever the case is. And I like lost something, right? I lost like something specifically that I was looking for, right? And what usually I would do, I'd get angry, like, where the fuck is this thing? I can't believe, did it just disappear? How the fuck did it just disappear? But I had to calm myself down. I said, you know what? It didn't disappear. This thing, it's somewhere here. I can't find it right now. It's somewhere here. There has to be a reason for why I can't find it. It's got to be behind something. It's got to be underneath something. It didn't just fucking disappear, right? And I think that that's all I'm positing for you is that I feel like, especially like with conversations that we have, like there's a lot that's attributed to, oh yeah, that's just the way it is. And it's just like, well, there's a reason for why it is the way it is.
Sure. I think we kind of go about life from a different perspective, like neither wrong or right. Nobody is wrong or right. Where
I'm definitely right about
you generally have a wanting to like understand your behaviors as well as understand like the world around you and like other people's behaviors. Yeah. Right. I generally try to understand my behavior, and I accept the fact that there are things that I won't understand, and there are definitely things in society that I won't understand.
But you said two contradictory things. You said you both try to understand and also understand that there aren't things to understand.
Understanding and accepting are both can happen at the same time and in the same place, right? I can understand, or I can examine behavior. I can accept what I discover, and I also can accept what I may not understand fully.
Yeah, but I don't even, and we can get off this, but like I don't even understand that, because it's like I can see that I do things and I can accept that I do things, but that doesn't explain why I do things. And that's what I'm talking about.
For example, I don't like I'm going to use this as a loose example. I know it's not a perfect one. I don't like cauliflower, right? There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, I've had cauliflower that tasted pretty good. I just don't like it. And
is it like the texture? Is it like what is it?
I don't like the way it looks.
Like uncooked or within something, even if it's in something you still don't
I
like
just
it?
don't like the fact that it's like white broccoli. right?
See, there is a underlying reason now why you don't like it, and it almost sounds like you have an issue with having the capacity to understand something.
You don't like when fake broccoli is presented in front of you.
It just looks, it's like colorless broccoli. It's like someone didn't color it in, right?
It's the Vision. Remember Vision from WandaVision?
Yeah.
It's like, remember when the white Vision came in?
Yeah. I didn't like him. So for me, it's like this colorless broccoli. I'm not going to eat it. I don't like it. Even if there's nothing wrong with it, it's just foreign and different.
No. That's fine, and I'm not disputing that that's how you feel. But what I'm saying is you're saying that as if there isn't a reason why you don't like it, right? There is a reason. You just don't care to find it.
So I think what it comes down to, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to pivot here to this next thing, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times what we do in society is we look at our behavior, right? And
just
we
repeat the same thing you just been talking about.
Again, so what's happening here is a pivot. So I have to lay the pathway, lay the foundation in order to pivot.
The pathway just happens to be the same exact thing you just said.
So yeah, we're going to recap and then pivot.
Fair enough.
Don't fuck up the pivot. So we have a tendency to look at other people's behaviors and judge it based off of like what our preconceived notions, right? And then generally we judge other people's behaviors more harshly if they're not in line with ours, right? So when we say something like, oh, there's an underlying issue, generally the word issue has a negative connotation to it, meaning like there's something wrong. You have an issue. We have an issue. There's an issue here. Just like Jonah Hill. He has an issue with I think this is his ex-girlfriend. I want to say her name is Sarah Brady, and she's like a professional surfer. Have you heard about this thing at all?
No, I haven't heard.
All right, so I'm going to read you a quick excerpt from Glamour magazine. So Jonah Hill has had like issues with his ex-girlfriend Sarah Brady. She's a former surfer, and she's more recently released a string of text messages or screenshots of text message conversations between them two. Essentially saying that Jonah Hill is like a misogynistic control freak and he's like arrogant and blah, blah, blah. And here are the text messages to prove it. Now, some of these text messages are kind of like, damn, this motherfucker's trying to control her, like legit.
Yeah.
Some of them are also him just saying, hey, these are my boundaries in like in a very, not like attacking way, but like, these are the things that work for me that I need in order for us to be in a happy, healthy relationship. If that's not going to work for you, then like, I'm not your right partner.
Are you paraphrasing or is that actually what he said?
I'm pretty sure that's actually the text message here. Yeah, so like for example, like there's a list of things here, and you know what? In fact, we got some time. I'm just gonna go through this really quickly, right? So they're going back and forth, and he's essentially talking to her about how he doesn't like the fact that she posts certain things on Instagram. There's a video, again, she's a pro surfer. Mm-hmm. There's a video of her surfing in which she's like on the front of her surfboard, just kind of like riding the wave, and she has her like back turned, so her butt showing, and she's wearing like a bikini, right? And he's basically saying like, hey, I don't like this picture. Your ass is out. I prefer you not post pictures online with like your ass out and, you naked, right? So he says here, and this is like the screenshot that she posted. He said, plain and simple, if you need surfing with men, boundaryless, inappropriate friendships with men, to model, to put pictures of yourself in a bathing suit, to post, sexual pictures, friendships with women who are in unstable places from your wild recent past, beyond getting a lunch or a coffee or something respectful, I am not the partner for you. If these things bring you to a place of happiness, I support it. And sorry, this is just really small text. I'm just having trouble seeing it. I support it, and there will be no hard feelings. These are my boundaries for romantic relationships. My boundaries with you based on the ways these actions have hurt our trust. Right. So, I think he's positioning his boundaries as like somewhat controlling, right? But there is
what's the controlling text? I need a counterbalance to that. What's the shit that is like, whoa, this is out of bounds?
So there's some text messages where he's basically saying like, take down certain pictures on Instagram that like are
those texts there
that are inappropriate to me. I don't have all of them here.
Well, just bring me like one. I just want to know what the counterbalance is. So because that paints him as like, okay, this is like reasonable. You're just saying what your boundaries are.
Yeah, so I'm going to just go through, read a couple here. I respect your skill in your surfing. I respect how you want to present yourself. I respect that you're hot and beautiful. I respect all of that, blah, blah, blah. And what I'm interested in is my own life. I'm trying to find like the text messages where he's like belittling her or being demeaning, because like there's a lot of people on the internet who are saying like this is just typical misogynistic, controlling male behavior. He texts the fuck out of her. I'm not gonna lie. At one point, he goes like, again, I'm trying to find. I can't really find where he's like being a. He is being a dick. I'm not gonna say that. Like the way he's kind of going about the conversations.
From what you just, if what you just read to me right now was like the worst of it, I'm not. Going
No,
to
I mean
jump
that's
out on
not
that.
the worst of it. I'm sure there's more of it, but like she posts like 50 screenshots, so you'd really have to like dial into this shit to see all of it, right? But essentially, what this conversation is about is he doesn't like what she posts online, right? He doesn't like her posting in bikini pictures, but at the same time, she's a surfer. She's generally surfing in bikinis.
Unreasonable. Well, she was, I'm sure, a surfer before she fucking met him.
More than
so
likely,
it's just
right?
like,
And it's like dating if I date a girl and she works at Hooters and she worked there when I met her, and I'm like, hey, I don't like those like little orange shorts that you wear. That's kind of like unreasonable,
Yeah.
right?
even after the fact, like even if it was after you started dating, it's still a little unreasonable. But at least I can kind of understand that. But if this is what the person was before they met you, like it's like people who have issues with like dating strippers, and it's like, well, she was a stripper before she met you.
Yeah.
So why then after are you like, why are you going to continue being a stripper? Like this was her life before you, and it's going to be her life after you. And
Yeah. Again, I'm still browsing.
It's fine. Don't like. I'll take your word for it. That there is more to it than that.
So the question or the conversation that's happening online, right, is like for Jonah Hill, and I think this is like kind of the unfortunate thing. It's not. I'm not going to say it's unfortunate. That might sound bad, but like we are quick to see 5% of a situation, right, and then like attach a label to it. So the conversation right now happening online is like with these screenshots that she's chosen to share, and realistically she's chosen to share very specific things, right? So is this quick labeling of like Jonah Hill like a misogynist and like arrogant, controlling, is that right or wrong? Like again, if you see some of these text messages, he texted the fuck out of her. He texted her like it'd be like 13 text messages back to back.
Wait, is he married now? This is an ex-girlfriend, or is this?
Yeah, I think this is his ex.
Because it makes me question why now?
Yeah, very good question.
But in any case, I don't know. I don't have enough. I think this reminds me of the Jonathan Majors situation a little bit. Two wildly different situations, but in the same context of I just need more information. And also I don't really care. Right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like does he sound like he's misogynist? Yeah. If it's just those texts that you read to me, I would say it's like it was misogynist, but like it still sounds like he's trying to set his own boundaries. But I can see a world in which that, like, because it says, I'm reading an article here, it's like she took down some photos, and he's like, oh, that's a good start. And then that's an indicator of like, Jesus, like, well, what else do you like? Should I fucking start wearing a dress every time I go out to the surfing? Like, is that, and I want to take pictures, I got to wear a burqa? Like, is that what we're doing? In which case, of course, that's controlling, that's manipulative, all these things, right?
Yeah.
And if that's the direction that it goes in, I haven't read those texts, and I'm trying to quickly like, oh, here's some screenshots of the actual text.
Yeah. And again, so like some of the things that are going online, and so I'm looking at this one tweet here, and it says that like I've seen folks tweet that if Jonah Hill wanted a girlfriend who didn't post bathing suit pictures or have guy friends, he shouldn't have dated a surfer. Here's the thing: emotionally abusive and controlling men don't want submissive women; they want to take strong women down a peg. And another one is basically saying like, if you teach a man some therapy, you heal him for a day. You teach a man therapy words, and you feed his manipulation for a lifetime.
I would say that's a dark way to look at the world.
Yeah,
Jesus.
like so. I think this is maybe this goes into a bit of what we were talking about earlier, right? What's happened is, like, and Jonah Hill hasn't responded or commented on any of this. He hasn't shared his screenshots. He hasn't responded at all. So we're seeing like one person's view, right? Now, granted, we do have the screenshots, right? There are some receipts here, and we are seeing a lot of text from him, which seems like abusive.
Yeah, let's read these out, because I feel like we can't really have like a full conversation. And I don't know where this is going to lead to, so it might be nothing. But let's read. I see some new text. It says it's just constant and doesn't reflect where we're at or where you say you want to be. I respect your skill and your surfing. I respect how you want to present yourself. I respect that you're oh wait, you already
Yeah, I read some of this.
but I don't want to have to deal. Take some accountability and operate with respect. It's that simple, because I'm tired of your attitude towards surf culture, that contest and that place, because I deserve respect, period. I've been more than patient, and then shit like this is still here. Fuck that contest, fuck that place, and fuck not respecting me always in every situation within surf culture, or you don't get it. And you don't get it, and you don't get me. It's hurtful and unacceptable to me. Get it? I don't know if you get it or care or give a shit about that shit more than me, even after Dr. Stern has said it loud and clear. Dr. Stern is a couples therapist we were seeing once a week for 4 months. Is what she dude, I don't know, man. I think I'm always weary. I'm not saying that she's speaking her truth, but I'm always weary when we see snapshots of shit. You know what I mean? I'm always weary. Does the shit that is literally here in front of us, does it sound wild? Kind of. I'm not even sure if I understand what the fuck he's saying here, if I'm being honest with you. Because I don't know if it's just the way I'm reading it or what, but it feels like he's referring to stuff that I don't like. We don't have the context for.
Yeah, context we just don't understand, because we're not, like, I don't know Jonah Hill, I don't know her, we're not in their relationship or in their like close circle of friends. So yeah, there's a lot that we don't understand. But from what I'm seeing, I see someone maybe like over communicating or communicating like harshly, or he's communicating his like boundaries, what he likes and doesn't like, and he's like demanding respect in a way that seems like maybe controlling or manipulative, but I don't actually see him outwardly controlling or abusing her from these screenshots. We don't know what their relationship is like.
Here's where I would say that maybe you're impressing upon it what you kind of want to read into it, because judging from these, I'm saying I can't tell what he's saying because I don't have the full context of it. Meaning I can't tell one way or another if he's being controlling, because there's a version of we're reading all this and it sounds controlling as fuck, right? If we have the proper context and understand where it's all coming from, right? There's another factor that there's a whole conversation that happened before this that would shine some light. That'd be like, oh, okay, that's more like understandable. Maybe she did some fuck shit. Maybe he's responding to that fuck shit. Who knows, right? I can't tell from these text messages. I can't make an estimation whether he's controlling or not, because I don't have the full breadth.
Yeah.
If I can see that there's people who, and this is again what the Jonathan Major shit kind of taught me, is that people will impress upon it whenever the fuck they want to impress.
Yeah.
So if they're going through some shit, or if they've seen some shit in their life, they're most likely going to be like, yo, he was on some fuck shit, even though they didn't really know. They weren't there that night. They don't have the proper context. Apparently there's like a video, apparently like all this shit that was being circulated at the time, but people are either he's the devil and he did it, and he's the, he needs to be fucking exercised from all Marvel shit. He need all the people, all the projects he has, they need to drop him. It's all the way to he did nothing wrong. He's an angel. He's perfect. You guys are just trying to tear him down because he's a black man on the rise. It's just like, bitch, nobody has the information. So why is everybody so fucking quick to come out here and judge? Again, from the release, just the plain reading of these, it does not sound great for Jonah Hill. But also, it feels like we're missing a lot of fucking context.
Yeah, this is not a good look for him. All these text messages, and it does seem like there is some. I truly feel like that, like in whatever context, that there is some type of manipulation going on here. But I don't. There is. But we have no idea what the other side looks like, right? All we've seen are these text messages. However,
like we literally don't see any of her responses. Like at least in some of the ones that I'm reading here.
Yeah,
like
we see a couple of them.
There is one.
Yeah, there is one. It says, according to Fox News, Brady had allegedly replied to Hill, writing, quote, "Understood, I don't need or want surfing with men without you there unless they are trusted close friends, mutually agreed upon, boundaries, inappropriate friendships with men, to model, to post pictures of myself in a bathing suit for the next year, unless it is tasteful, likely surfing, photos that you have pre-approved, sorry, I can't freaking hold my all right, to post sexual pictures, friendships with unstable women from my recent past beyond getting lunch or coffee or something respectful." So yeah, she is clearly replying back to him saying, Yeah, what you're asking of me, I'm not down with because everything is sounding like you just want to control me, and I'm just
Wait,
gonna go ahead.
that's her saying she's not down with any of that? I thought it seemed like she wasn't.
It,
Right?
the way it's written, it's completely broken up. That's why I was having a hard time trying to follow it. But
Yeah.
she's saying, replying to him when he said, "I'm not the right partner for you if these are the conditions."
She's saying to him, "I'm not the right partner for you."
No,
That's what he said to her. Oh, he said to her.
He said to her, "I'm not the right partner for you."
Yeah,
in
but
regards to
she's
all-
trying to meet that. She's trying to be like, no, I can do these things.
No. This the
confused.
way it's reading, it reads so weird. But I took it as I don't need or want. That was the first thing that she said.
Who's saying? I need. Tell me who you're talking about when you say this.
Brady is saying, I
So
don't
Sarah
need or
Brady
want.
said, "Understood. I don't need or want." And
Like
it just
him.
cuts off right there.
I don't need or want him to.
In regards to his previous text, which read, "I am not the right partner for you if these things bring you."
Yeah, but that could
to,
mean a lot of things. If she says, "I don't need or want," like she could go a lot of directions. with
Yeah,
that.
I mean, again,
What the fuck?
To
so
me,
many
it's sounding
text
like
messages.
she's saying, "I don't need or want this in my life."
No, but again, that's what we're reading into it. That doesn't. I don't need or want to have other men
I am
there.
curious,
she could
though.
she could go in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am curious though, because none of these articles, I'm reading Yahoo Sports right now, the Washington Post, Fox News, none of them actually say why she came out and started posting this. So like, what's the context behind it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
like
happened?
In
see,
one post, she wrote, like, I
Yeah.
hope my ex has a daughter. Maybe she'll turn him into a real feminist because the fact that he calls himself a feminist is laughable. I'm not sure if that, like, is relative to why she's doing it, but it sounds... And now, mind you, he did just have a daughter
Yeah, with his girlfriend.
with his now girlfriend, Olivia Miller, I think about a month ago or so.
Millar.
Millar. So...
yeah.
Yeah, the timing is
Addy, do me a
interesting.
favor. Turn down the audio on your. Hold on.
So
No, not on your mic. Not on your mic.
yeah, I'll just keep going. So the timing here is interesting, right? Like a month ago, he had a daughter with another woman, and his ex comes out with these text messages. Now, I wonder if these text messages overlap with his current relationship, right? So, like, are these texts from are there dates in the screenshots? Are there timestamps?
No, just timestamps. I don't see dates.
So if he had a baby a month ago with his now current girlfriend, I would imagine that that 9-month pregnancy. I don't know if he was still dealing with his ex Sarah or not, or maybe.
I mean, if they're having conversations like this, it doesn't seem like that was the case. It seemed like they were in a full-fledged relationship and they're trying to suss out.
Yeah, but like I'm just wondering like
boundaries
when
of
that
that
relationship happened and when it came to an end, right? Because I would imagine that like at least during the 9-month pregnancy with his now girlfriend before she delivered a month ago, like I would imagine that he and his ex broke up and he formed a new relationship with this new woman Olivia, and that they've been together for a period of time. She got pregnant 9 months later, baby arrives. So I'm curious as to. I don't think she stated like what her reasons for this were. Maybe just to out him, right?
Well, and it's kind of strange, right? Like maybe the fact that he's an actor, like a public figure, like is like maybe the impetus for like releasing this publicly. So you guys all know like the real Jonah Hill. But so it says here in an article from Glamour. She said when she shared the initial post, she said sharing this publicly now because keeping it to myself was causing more damage to my mental health than sharing it could ever do. Now, the strange thing about that is that like you can share it without sharing it with the world, right? Like you can, if you haven't told, say like your therapist or your friends or whoever, then okay, that seems reasonable, right? But when you share it publicly like this, I feel like there's got to be like a reason. Like he maybe did something to like, maybe he said the opposite, and maybe it's like this whole feminist thing that he's been going around saying, "Hey, I'm such a feminist," and she's like, "Not so fast," maybe that was it. But in all situations. I don't feel like I have, and some people may disagree vehemently, meaning that they can see, and we're just reading the only things that I have the context for are the text messages that we literally just here's some other ones. I see the good start one. It said, plain and simple. I see that one. Yeah. That makes me want to, she said she had me agree to paddle away from any man that approached me in the water, no matter his age. I was instructed to say, I'm going to go talk to my boyfriend and then paddle away. That makes me, I guess she's talking to a friend. She.
Yeah, it seems
being
like
her
she's saying that like
her couple's
friend
therapist. No, she says she being our couple's therapist at the time. So she's talking to their couple's therapist, and and then our couple's therapist says that makes me want to go stab someone. Wow, who is? Oh wait, no, she's talking to a friend about the therapist, I guess. Oh, okay. So her therapist recommended that she paddle away from any other man. Yeah, that's some wild ass shit for a therapist to say. That's wild.
I think. I mean, it all depends on like the nature of like what that conversation is about. Maybe they were talking about how to avoid conflict, right? Where it's like, hey, if again, like I'm thinking that maybe the therapist is like, hey, if you are approached by a man out in the water, your partner doesn't really feel comfortable with you engaging in like a conversation in that way, in that form, maybe just like leave that situation to not cause conflict in your relationship. Right?
No,
maybe I don't know.
What if you're a therapist and that's what you're recommending in that situation? You need to have I don't know if it's a license you need to have revoked or what. That's some wild ass fucking advice to give.
I don't think that's too wild.
That's why if you're in a relationship, forget labeling it as toxic or whatever the case is. Just if you're in a relationship, right, and your therapist recommends that instead of talking to other people, that you just paddle away, like you're in the water and you just paddle away from other people and say, hey, I'm going to go talk to my boyfriend. That's insane advice, because what that's saying is that you can't even have a conversation with another person, like, or specifically another guy other than your boyfriend, which that's insane. Of course you can. Like, why is it so threatening
from this
to
text though? Like, we don't know like that's what she was saying.
No, you're right. We just have her interpretation of what the therapist was saying.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if that's the actual advice
that's the case,
that her therapist,
that would be
that's
essentially
her
therapist.
Yeah. Their therapist. That wasn't even just her therapist.
Their therapist essentially
that's some wild shit.
Advising her to, like, hey, do what he tells you to do.
Basically.
Kind of
That's some wild shit.
That could be right, or it could just be like, hey, like, here's maybe a way to avoid conflict within your relationship by not engaging in like conversation with men in places or at times that
I don't know if that's
partner.
ever going to be, like, in any scenario, if that's going to be solid advice, meaning that, like, I could be wrong, but I feel like avoidance is typically like not a great thing, meaning that because you're not actually dealing with the thing at hand, you're just avoiding it, meaning that, like, you're not resolving anything. All you're doing is just pushing the can down the road. So what if she got into a situation where she can't paddle away? What if she got a cramp and some dude's like, all right, I'll come and help you, on your, then is Jonah's head going to explode when he realizes, oh my God, you were helped by just a random buff, your David Duchovny or David Hasselhoff, David Hasselhoff came out and saved you, and
well, then definitely paddle away if David Hasselhoff comes out to save you at this age, even on Baywatch, because there was some shit going on there. That was actually great advice. I don't know.
Solid advice. Paddle away.
It probably was David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, it probably was. He sparked all this shit up. Yeah. Long story short, I don't really care for these type of situations because we're only seeing one side of it, and that one side can seem pretty bad. But then once you get into like the full context, you're like, oh, well, this gives me like a lot more shit. I'm not saying you can't come up with your own, ideas as to, what's happening here, but I'm trying to get away from making snap judgments based off of specific pieces of information.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or at least in these cases where it's just like, I'm going to release all these text messages. And a lot of these text messages are like one-sided, they're just his words. They're not her conversating with him. We don't get the full breadth of the actual conversation. It's just, look at what Jonah Hill said, which again, could be some wild ass shit, but I don't have the entire context. And again, I'm not trying to sit here and be like, there's no context or that he's right. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, like, I don't have enough to go off of to be like, to jump online and be like, oh my God, he's a piece of shit. He needs to, fuck off. Like okay. Like, I don't know. I hate these situations because I wish that, what I wish is like they went on couples therapy.
Yeah.
If they go on the couples therapy, the show, then I could be like, oh yeah, you're fucking wild, dude. Like, because I feel like on there, it's like, even if you try to hide the truth, it still kind of comes out anyways, because you can only hide from who you are for so long.
Yeah.
Before, and especially somebody just constantly sort of like asking you questions and explain that. Get into this. What do you mean by that? like I feel like that doesn't allow you to run away as quickly. And then we can see the back and forth, like, okay, he's like a controlling piece of shit. Okay, I get it now, right? Versus I'm just seeing one-sided text messages. They look bad. Do they look bad? Yeah, they look bad. Am I willing to be like, he's the worst person on earth. He should never get another fucking, a movie, part or anything like that ever again? No, I don't have enough to make these kind of judgments.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. Again, I don't think this is the biggest deal in the world. This is like a really, for the most part, this is like a non-issue just because I don't take it as an issue unless we see both sides. If we only ever hear one person's side of the story, to me, it's just like, well, you're just telling what happened from your perspective, and unless I hear the other perspectives, like I can't take it at face value. I can't take it at like full value. I can just take it at face value.
And almost explicitly with like text messages and shit.
Yeah,
because I feel like it's different if like you're in an abusive relationship and somebody like you have like fucking pictures. You're like, yo, this person just beat the shit out of me. You know what I mean? And they don't have like a mark on them. And you're like, look, there's not that hard to fucking figure out what happened here, right?
Yeah.
That I feel like is like a different situation than just seeing somebody's like text messages.
Yeah.
And
These
also,
days, I don't trust screenshots anyway because you can do a screen record and show me everything, show me your responses too, right?
So explicitly choosing not to,
and if we know we can do that, a screenshot to me feels like and again, I'm not trying to like discredit her character. I'm not even really talking about her at this point anymore. In general, I think if someone posts a screenshot, knowing that you can post like the full conversation, it seems like a bit of like, hey, I want you to see this. I don't want you to see the rest of it.
Well, and also too, that even goes for like, even if we have like a conversation, like when people like, how many people like clip out like clips from like podcasts. I'm like, look what this person said, and then you hear the full context, and you're like, okay, what? Like either they were clearly joking or not being serious or whatever the case is. And again, not saying that that's not what's happening here. I just don't have enough to be like, yo, this dude is on some fuck shit.
Yeah, you could take a 30-second clip of anybody online and like make it seem as if they're saying something that they're not, right? And then if you only put that out,
so that
then
begs
you
the
can
question,
kind of control the narrative.
What do you do? And I feel like
you're Jonah Hill or just
no. If you're a person who like wants to put this out in the world, like what's the best way of doing it? Because it's like, well, what do you do? Like, how far back in the text messages are we going here? Like, are we fucking starting last month? Let's start with the saga. Like, like. I feel like that's not, nobody's going to give a shit about that, right? So it's like if you're in an abusive relationship and the other person's douche, well, what do you do? Like, again, not in favor of like releasing it like publicly, because it's like, well, what is that other than destroy his reputation at large? Like, what does that really actually accomplish like for you? Because at the end of the day, that's what I think is the goal here, is to disrupt his reputation as like feminist or whatever the case is.
I think some people say that she's trying to like show the world who he really is.
Yeah.
But like, let's be real. Like there's also an attempt here to like, in showing the world who he really is, knowing that like he's an actor, a public figure, that may impact his ability to continue to work. Right. And I think that's probably part of it.
But that's a tricky thing. It's just like, because then that's saying that because he's an actor, you can't.
Yeah, for sure.
Because one might think, like, I'd like to think that even if Jonah Hill wasn't an actor, she would still post this. But maybe that's me being super naive. I don't know.
If Jonah Hill was a manager at Starbucks,
I'm always curious what
store manager. Yeah. Because that's just like a normal job to me, right? Like
my thing is Kinko's. I don't know why Kinko's is like my place to go.
I feel like Kinko's seems a little bit like you're trying to low. It's a little bit like I gave him store manager. He has that title and position.
Jesus Christ.
So if Jonah Hill is store manager at Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does she release the screenshots? Maybe she does. Maybe is she wrong or right either way, whether it's an actor or manager at Starbucks? Like maybe not.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's
I guess that's why my question is like, if you want to speak your truth, like, does that necessarily involve releasing it publicly? And I'll say this. So I know somebody who they were saying like, hey, like I was sexually assaulted by like a well-known person, like everybody fucking knows this person. I was sexually assaulted by them, but they weren't comfortable with like saying it out publicly who that person was. I would guess in fear of like retaliation and yada yada, right? Like the usual things that you would be afraid of by like going after somebody publicly, right?
Yeah.
Especially somebody like higher status in society or whatever. But does that mean you can't live? Like, so for instance, like, I mean, like one would think like if you got sexually assaulted, is like you should be able to fucking just go to the cops and tell them like, hey, this is what happened to me. But you know, if it's a more public figure, then that's going to probably get out, you know, into the world. Or if it doesn't, right? If you go to the police and they're like, all right, we'll look into it, and then they just never fucking do shit about it.
Yeah.
It's like, then what recourse do you have other than to just release the shit publicly and be like, yo, this is my story. This is
sure.
what happened.
Like going to the cops is tough because like if there is only like circumstantial evidence, then like sometimes the police won't even investigate it because there's like, well, you're just coming to us saying it happened, but there's no proof of it, right?
Yeah.
And then especially if time has passed, if it's been like 3 months since the event happened, then it's like, well, why didn't you report it when it happened?
Yeah.
Because then it would have been like more time sensitive, right? And 3 months has passed. It's all circumstantial. We're not going to look into this. So if you file that police report and it ultimately gets like dropped, or the police department doesn't investigate it because there's no proof, then you look like you might have even filed a false police claim, or is it a police report, right? If you go to the public with it, right, and you go on social media, then it kind of also looks like you're outing the person, or you're like,
I mean, which is your intention.
You're outing it for like, then it could be outing it to like, hey, here's what happened to me. Here's my truth. Here's my story, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Or it could be like, hey, this person did something shitty to me. I'm going to do something shitty to them. Do I think there's something wrong with that?
I don't think those two things are equal. If somebody sexually assaults you, I don't think you're doing an equally shitty thing by saying, "Hey, you committed sexual assault."
For sure, I'm just going through like the different thought patterns that someone might go through who like does this, right? Like they fucked me over. I'm going to do something to like fuck them over, right? Or
no, but the difference is that like you're not doing something to fuck. Like you're. It's not like a tit for tat. It's I'm explaining what happened to me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, again, I'm a victim of something. This person did something to me. Now I'm going to take action and like air this person out for like what they did to me, right?
Sure.
Or it could be something else. It could be jealousy. It could be manipulation. It could be.
No, I still think if somebody, again, I think we're sticking with the idea of sexual assault here. Or if it's changed, let me know. But if we're sticking with the idea of sexual assault, I don't think that there's other things that like there could be other things like in terms of just like maybe your hope for what is the effect of what you're doing. But I think everything is within bounds. Like if somebody sexually assaults you, I think you have the bounds, maybe short of fucking killing the person, of like, you know, some sort of reciprocation in that case. Especially if it's like I'm saying this and I'm just telling my story in a public forum.
I'm going through like all the like potential perspectives of like why someone may choose to do this, right? Like, because I think there are some people who do things like these for like we look at the Mariah Mills Zion Williamson situation. Right?
I don't even. Can you explain to me what because I kept seeing everybody talk about it and I had just zero interest in actually diving into it. What was the
Mariah Mills
situation?
I think she's like a porn star.
She's a porn star.
She also does.
Don't
OnlyFans.
try to act like you don't know who the fuck Mariah Mills is.
Do you know her?
Yeah, who doesn't?
I'd never heard about her up until like she came out with this whole like Zion Williamson allegations.
I'm actually pretending I
didn't
even know who she was.
From this, I've learned who she was. Like she's a porn star. She also does like OnlyFans stuff and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, she like outed Zion. Like Zion posted like he's like having a baby. He's got a baby on the way, or he just had a baby or something like that. And she was like, dude, like you were just fucking me last week. You know what I mean? You didn't tell me that you had this baby coming out, and really, it was. Did
they have like an actual relationship?
I think she released screenshots, text messages of their conversation of like, I think she was his like side chick, you know what I mean? And like, you know, he's doing things. I think he bought her a car. He said he was going to buy her a Rolls Royce.
She was a side chick that didn't know she was a side chick.
She fucking knew she was a side chick, but maybe not. I don't know.
Apparently not.
So I think. And if you've seen everything that's been going on, she's clearly doing it for publicity, right? So she's her OnlyFans is through the roof, her like Pornhub is through the roof. She got Zion Wilson's name tattooed on her like neck or her like jawline or something like that.
Yeah, that's
excessive. So a lot of what she's doing, I don't care what she's doing. It's for publicity. She understands that there's a lot of publicity and attention to be gained from it, and like for someone in her profession, that leads to, you know, an increase in income. If you're trending on Twitter, your videos on Pornhub are going through the roof. People are signing up for your OnlyFans. She probably made like well over $1 million, like throughout the nature of this thing, right? Now, I'm not saying that's what Sarah Brady is doing with this whole Jonah Hill. I think that's a very different situation. I'm just curious, it's like why someone chooses to go about these things in the methods that they do, right?
Yeah. Again, like in this situation, I'm curious because I'm like, it would seem like there should have been some sort of precipitating event that was like, I have to go public with this. Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, he can't like get away with this. Like, he did something so bad that like, I have to like,
yeah, I think part
gotta
of
release this.
public perception is going to look like, it's interesting timing, right?
Why? For Jonah Hill?
For this whole thing, right? So Jonah Hill just had a baby a month ago with his new girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
And fast forward a month later, it's like, allegations of him being like a misogynist, like anti-feminist.
Why would that be like the precipitating event though? Like, it's just like we're not dating anymore. Like, well, what the fuck is like? I could see if like I don't know.
It could be, again, I'm just going through all of the possible. It could be like jealousy of like, all right, you did that thing to me, and now you've moved on with your life, and you're happy with your new girlfriend. You just had a baby. You know what? I'm going to show the world who you are.
I feel like that is a conversation to be had. Is like, what if you fuck with somebody like mentally, like you literally, like you manipulate them, you do all this crazy shit, and then you just up and have like another relationship with somebody else, especially like a public one. Like at some point in time, I'm sure you're gonna be like, nah, man.
Is that hating? Like, is it?
Nah,
I'm gonna ask a question here, and no one's gonna like it.
Yeah,
but is manipulation a bad thing? Is that just winning?
Yo.
Because didn't Tom Brady manipulate defenses, right?
Just letting all the courts know that this is not admissible in court. Okay, you can't.
Yeah, you cannot use this against me. This is just a podcast.
Fam, that is a wild question.
No, so,
holy shit.
So here's like why that question even came to mind, right? Because like I feel like when we look at past relationships, a lot of times we can say that someone manipulated us in many, many ways in many different areas of our lives, right? Like let's say I start dating someone who's vegetarian, right?
Yeah.
And that person, and I say, oh, well, you guilted me into making decisions about my eating and shamed me for eating meat, and that's why I started eating fucking salads or whatever and became a vegetarian because you guilted and manipulated me, and like you were wrong for having done that. Well, that person's could have been like, well, I didn't manipulate you. I just asked you if you would consider making like a life change or like change in your eating habits or your diet because it's something that I was interested. Like, you know what I mean?
Do you want? They're very easy answer to your question. You know what plausible deniability is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's the answer to your question. Meaning that there's a pattern that you can recognize with manipulation. Meaning that you're trying to coerce me to do the things that it's like how people like end up in cults, right? Do you think people end up in cults just because everybody's just stupid? No, a lot of smart people end up in cults. But what happens is somebody latches on to something that they know affects you, and then they start manipulating that thing to get you to do what they want you to do. To the point, and there's many different flavors of it, but to some points of you think that it's actually your idea to do the thing when really they've been like fucking Geppetto behind the scenes of just making you do all the shit that they want you to do, all the while you're thinking you're making reasonable and sound decisions for yourself, but in reality they're making decisions for you. And to answer your question, I think maybe if I'm to be really charitable with what you're asking, I think maybe what you're asking is maybe a philosophical question of like, isn't manipulation just like an ordinary part of life? Which in respect,
absolutely yes. The answer to that question is yes. But like also, I was just asking of like, you know, what if and I'm not removing ourselves from this like Jonah Hill, Sarah Brady situation, right? Sure. And I guess I'm also kind of like looking at the Mariah Mills, Zion Williamson situation of like, she would claim that he manipulated her into thinking that they were in like a, you know, maybe a more serious committed relationship, right?
Yeah.
But she's also then manipulating his image online by posting like private conversations and then like kind of creating this narrative around like who he is based off of like her experience with him, right? So like she is also then manipulating like the use of like social media to like shape the image of a person, right? So it's like, my question is, it's a broader general question. It's like, when is manipulation okay? When is it bad? Is it never okay? Is it sometimes okay? Like when, because it happens all the time in our daily lives, right? The products that are being pushed on us, marketing companies, it's about like, we're going to strategically manipulate our audience to buy our product, right? Mm-hmm. if you're flying a certain airline, they're trying to manipulate you to fly their airline and perceive their airline as more credible or whatever than in relationships. A lot of times people do, I'm going to try and manipulate the situation so that like it goes my way, right? Mm-hmm. The difference is, and I looked up the definition here of manipulation. I just wanted an actual one. I'm not even sure if this, so the actual definition is the action of, so I looked up manipulation. Manipulation is the action of manipulating someone in a skillful manner.
Wait, look up manipulate. And you looked up manipulating.
I looked up manipulation, and it uses the word manipulating in the definition. I fucking hate when they do that. But like in this,
but what is manipulating or manipulate as a core word?
So manipulate means handle or control a tool or mechanism, etc. Typically in a skillful manner, right? Because you can manipulate, your iPhone. You can manipulate any inanimate or inanimate, or is it animate or inanimate object? Is animate?
Animate is like something that's like active, like that's.
But I've never used the word an animate object. I've used the word inanimate, meaning like a non-living object or whatever.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Animate, that's a word? Is that a real word?
I believe so.
Fuck, now I got to look that up.
All right,
it's inanimate and.
But is animate a word?
Animate?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I believe it's a word.
It might be, but to just your definition that you read, man, you read the first one, to handle or control a tool mechanism. The second one, control or influence a person or situation cleverly, unfairly, or unscrupulously. So it's like, I would define, is it wrong by your one intent and the overall outcome? If you
think the
benefited
intent
yourself.
matters?
Yeah, the intent, I think,
the intent of the manipulation?
Yeah, I think the intent should matter.
I agree with that.
Especially if the outcome of it was not a negative outcome to both parties involved.
Because I can manipulate you in a way that leads to like good results.
Fair enough, but you're determining whether it's a good or bad thing.
No, like what if it actually does lead to like a positive thing?
This is the thing where you're not engaging with what I'm saying. You're determining that.
I did engage with what you just said. So so what I'm asking is you can manipulate someone that ultimately does lead to an outcome. I did engage with it because I'm giving a different perspective, meaning that like I can manipulate you to exhibit certain behaviors and like maybe like let's say we're packing to go on a trip to the airport, right? And like I'm manipulating your behavior in some way, shape, or form that leads to us getting out the door faster and sooner, that leads to us getting to the airport, that ultimately makes us like get to the airport on time and catch our flight. Mm-hmm. Right. So like I do think there are times where manipulation may lead to a positive outcome in the event that you do have good intentions to begin with.
I'll stick with what I said, which was you're defining what's good in that case. Even if it's you believe, hey, if we're going to get on a flight and that's going to be a good thing, net positive for us both, that's what we both want, yada yada. But you're doing that independent of what I actually want. Whether I end up wanting the same thing or not is not the thing that matters, but you're coming to that conclusion. Now, where that gets complicated is when you start doing that for things that aren't obvious. Like, so us making our flight, fine, fair enough. I can see where you're coming from there. But there's so many different parts of life where it's questionable why are you making the decision for this person that this is the best thing for them? Let them make that choice. And that ultimately is what the problem is with manipulating people. And I would say that it's manipulation independent of whether the person or just not being truthful with what you're trying to communicate. That's, I think, the problem with manipulation.
Can you always be truthful with people? Let's say...
Sure, you can. It doesn't mean that you always are, though.
I don't know. I don't know if you always can be honest. Because, for example...
You absolutely can always be honest.
Let's say...
Have you not seen, what is it, what's the Jim Carrey, Liar Liar?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
What wouldn't that mean then? If
but look at him in Liar Liar.
It ended in a wholesome way. It is. Yeah, right. Okay.
Wait, Tunde.
Yeah.
If you are being 100% honest,
sure, then
it wouldn't be manipulation, right?
No, because you could still try to get them to do what you want them to do. You're just being honest about it. Right? If I tell you, I want you
not manipulating. You're just being honest.
If I tell you, I want you to move over there, is that not me trying to manipulate you? To get you to do the thing that I want you to do?
Loosely, I don't know. I think manipulation, or maybe it's just a way that we perceive or view the word. Or
Yeah, we have a just like you were kind of saying before, we have a bad connotation or a negative connotation with the word manipulation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Manipulation is the exercise of harmful influence over others. People who manipulate others attack their mental and emotional sides to get what they want. This definition came from WebMD.
Oh, but that's I think from a. I would say that's a little touchy because that's from a
medical,
like a psychological
website.
or like a.
Well, I don't think it's psychological. I think WebMD is just like a website where you can go on and kind of like search your search like what's going on with you based off of symptoms that you're having, and this is just their like general definition. This could be someone wrote this from their perspective. I don't know if this is like the actual definition, but I think when looking at like relationships, typically in a relationship, the manipulation is going to be for like harmful or
fair enough. Let's
harmful
say,
use or control.
Let's say that is the case. I think what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, that form of manipulation is it earns the right to be wrong, because you're trying to do something independent. You're basically whether you're benefiting from that thing or you think the other person is you're not giving them a choice in that matter. You're saying, hey, I'm going to strategically either say things to you or physically do something in order to get you to do the thing that I think is good, whether it's good for me or good for you is irregardless, which I think is a net bad, right? Because if you're being fair with the person, then you would at least just let them know, hey, this is what I want you to do. Whether they're going to respond well to it or not, that's up to them, but you're at least giving them the fucking choice.
Yeah.
When you manipulate them, at least in I guess this definition of it, you're explicitly not giving them a choice.
What do you think? So, like, would you say that all manipulation in which someone is unaware of the fact that they're being manipulated, even if the intent is good and the outcome is for the most part good, is it still bad?
Yeah, because again, like you might find very obvious things that, hey, this is a good thing for this person, but and I think that this is another thing that I hate that people do is we do this independent of like human beings, meaning that once we learn how to do some shit as a human being, like how many shows do we watch where somebody gets like some sort of unique power? And at first they do it and it's like the most innocent thing in the world, right? Like they get they can turn invisible, right? And they're like, oh, cool. And then they like scare their friend or some shit, right? And then before the episode's over, they're fucking going into the girl's bathroom. You know, they're stealing money out of a vault. Like, it's a quick descent. Like, and our ability to like moderate or control ourselves is pretty fucking limited in terms of just like just like you were talking about before, of like, what was it you said? I forget now. But once we're able to do some shit, we're just going to take that to its natural conclusion. Like, we're generally speaking, there's some people who might morally have a problem, like, oh, I can't do X, Y, or Z because of morals and shit. But I think there's a lot of fucking people who, if they could do some shit, they probably would. We were talking about it before the podcast starts about the idea of murder, right?
Yeah.
Like, if some people could get away with murder, they absolutely would do it.
80% of people on Earth would at least murder once. I guarantee.
I like how the stat is so specific. He's like 80%.
For sure.
80%.
There are definitely people who would murder away.
But do you accept this answer that I've replied with?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yes, I think that is like one way to look at it. I do think that there's another way to look at where
also you don't agree. Is what you're trying to say.
I agree, but like I agree with like a caveat, right? Meaning that like I personally don't think all manipulation is bad. I do think that sometimes, like, you know, motherfuckers need to be manipulated in order to like lead to a
Why do you
better
think you have to
everybody.
manipulate them though?
Because we know that human nature, sometimes we act against our own best interest, right? So like, for example, let's say someone is dealing with like addiction, right? And like, what is an intervention? It's manipulation. You're manipulating.
How is intervention manipulation based on the definition that you just read?
So come with me to, you know, this thing. Let's go hang out. We're going to go hang out. I got these people like meeting at my friend's house. We're going to go drink some beer, right? You're an alcoholic.
I don't think that's Addy, would you, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Is that, I don't know if that's manipulation.
No, I mean, That technically would be because
Yeah. You're manipulating someone.
The
Sorry, go ahead.
definition: control or influence a person or situation cleverly, unfairly. I mean that does make sense. You are manipulating them to come into the situation that they normally would not want to go into.
Okay, fair enough. Proceed.
So, I mean, I don't think all manipulation is bad. Sometimes you can manipulate someone out of, or you can try and manipulate them out of continuing to exhibit behavior that you know is not in their best interest, even if they reject it.
That's the thing that I'm always going to contend with, is that you know what's in somebody's best interest. You can point out very obvious times in which that is the case, but that gets very gray very quickly, because what I see that as you essentially playing God with somebody's life. That ultimately you know what's right for their life, and that you're making these decisions and you know it's best for them. You can point to somebody being an addict. You can point to being late for the airport. You can point to a lot of things. It's like, okay, this will end up being like a net good, like, for this person, right? But at the end of the day, there are so many other situations in which it's super fucking inappropriate to start making, declaring that you know what's best for somebody in their own life, right?
Yeah.
And then especially if you're a significant other, I think that gets really fucking crazy, right? Because where's the fucking line, right? If I'm manipulating you for the airport, right? Can't I also manipulate you? Oh, you don't feel like cooking tonight. Interesting. Let me see how I can convince you that you actually do want to cook tonight, And then it's like, okay, you don't want to have sex. Let me see how I can convince you that you do want to have sex. Instead of just like being like, yo, do you want to fucking have sex or not? Like, you make the fucking choice.
It sounds like we're going to eat some good food, get some pussy, and make it to the airport on time.
Jesus. Well, good luck.
Sounds like a good
yeah, good luck with that, dude.
We got a fight to catch.
That sounds like a dark existence, dude. I already have enough issues managing my own life. I don't want to manage anybody else's.
Yeah, it does become... like, I think your question is like, how far do you go? Like, are you going to manipulate all of this person's behaviors, their psyche, their their surface level like thinking, but also like their deeper consciousness? Like, are you trying to actually manipulate all of that? And that does become a heavy burden. But I don't necessarily think all manipulation is bad, because sometimes you can manipulate someone out of continuing behavior that you know is not in their best interest. And I use the intervention, like for someone who's an alcoholic, as an example, because I think if that intervention leads to them recognizing or seeing their behavior and then addressing it, I don't think that ultimately
did OBS crash, Addy?
Yeah, it looks like it did.
Yeah, just go ahead and start it back up. Everything should pop out the way that it was before.
Now let's talk about another type.
Well, let me before we move on from this. Yeah, is our own show getting booted off here?
We are currently being manipulated by technology that we do not understand, that is learning and adapting faster than we are.
There we go. Okay. You know who is manipulative, or who is manipulative? Fucking James Cameron, and how he fucking manipulated them to create 5 fucking Avatar movies.
See, again, manipulation is
How
not
the
all
fuck?
that bad, because
No, it is that bad,
James
'cause now we
Cameron
have to
is
deal with-
getting a certified secured bag. Okay, so
Well, no, that's good for James Cameron. The rest of us folk, I don't know if this is so good. Look, I just watched Avatar 2, right? I watched it on Disney,
Way of the Water.
Way of the Water, right? Good movie. Should we get 3 more of these? No fucking shot.
no.
There is no reason why we should get 3, especially at like 3 hours a clip.
That would be 5 of them, right?
Fam, they're all going to be 3 hours.
5 of most things is not good. That's 15 hours of television.
Rocky didn't last that long, right? We got to 4. 4 was hot, and then 5
Was 4 hot? Who was in Rocky? Was
Are you
it
crazy?
with the?
It was Drago.
Okay, yeah, it was 5 where he fought like the kid. What
Yeah, it was Tommy Gunn.
Tommy Gunn. Yeah. Let it go.
Yeah, it didn't work out for Rocky, man.
Listen, there is a world in which we actually these upcoming 3 films. Maybe we only get one of them. There's, hey, you know what? Let's scrap the other 2.
Fam,
there's
so
no taste for it.
Financial. No, like I think isn't that the fucked up part? Is that they're already financially invested in them? Like literally, like basically they have to release them, otherwise they're just going to take massive loss.
But what is like? I mean, when I look at when you're financially investing in a film, right? Especially future films that are not slated to come out for like years to come, right? Like let's say Avatar 5 is slated to come out in 2028. how deeply financially leveraged or invested in that am I today to where I cannot like terminate whatever fucking contracts or leases or talent we've hired and signed, blah, 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 I can just terminate it today and recoup whatever my losses would have been had I not ended or terminated like those films today.
Yeah, I think the problem is that I think they've already like shot like either some of or most of the other sequels.
But they probably haven't gone through like editing and reshoots and then like the marketing behind
like,
it, which could save you hundreds of millions of dollars.
And they're already $1 billion in.
Are we about to be $2 billion in? You know what I mean? Like that's the question that they need to start asking themselves.
I can't for the life of me think that they're going to get up to $2 billion. There's just
like for the films,
literally no
like to produce it didn't how much did this new film cost? Wasn't it like 400 or 700 million or something like that?
The fuck if I know. All I really fucking know is that I think that they're already financially invested. And I watched and so here's where I come to this with. When I watched the first Avatar movie, I thought, oh, this is a good movie. That I think it was like, oh my, could have been like the greatest, like the most selling, what is it, the highest grossing movie of all time.
Yeah,
I was like surprised because I'm like, it was an okay movie. Like it wasn't like, was it like a spectacle with this whole 3D thing? Sure. Also, I don't really give a shit about 3D, but that's just me.
Yeah,
the movie itself was an okay movie, not great, not great.
I wouldn't watch it. Like I would watch it again under the right circumstances. Like if
I maybe watched Avatar twice in my life.
Yeah.
The first one. No, 3 times because I watched it again before I watched Way of Water.
Yeah.
Just so I can remember what the fuck
I've probably
was happening.
seen it 2 or 3 times. The first one, 2 or 3 times in total.
You know how much I've watched Infinity War?
Yeah.
I watched it like basically every night before.
Yeah, like this is not going to become my new, my comfort movie.
Yeah,
like,
and that's not what it's meant to be. It's supposed to be a commentary on society and these type of things, which is fine. It's great. I get it. I get the message, and I commend it. Right? It's a good movie. But it's also like an obviously like overt movie too.
Yeah.
Like it's very clear of like what like there's subtlety's not really like a big thing with these movies, right? They kind of they're trying to mimic whether it's Native American culture, indigenous culture, whatever the case, whatever you'd want to term it as. That's what they're trying to convey of like, hey, here's what life was like for, if you're people who are more harmonious with nature, and then you have these fucking corporations that try to come in and just plow your shit over and take all your natural resources, right? That's essentially the fucking tenet of the basis of the movie. Very fucking obvious. Do we need 5 of these motherfuckers to get through this?
So Avatar: The Way of the
I'm
Water.
a little confused, guys.
Yeah.
I'm very confused because I love the Avatar movies. I love the story. I love the commentary on it, and I will go back and watch it again. But you guys are asking, how much money, did such and such cost? But it's like in relation to what? It's like when you guys like something, cost doesn't really matter. I'll give an example. What would it be? Endgame. Endgame cost. The budget was $356 million to $400 million. Avatar: Way of Water was $350 to $400 million. Like,
no. So what we're arguing here isn't that
not to mention the entire like Marvel Cinematic Universe has cost like almost $4 billion.
No, fair enough, but it's because of the entertainment that I'm getting out of that. Avatar itself, it's I like the movies, but I don't know if I need it to be a franchise. I think is essentially like what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but that's your opinion, though.
Exactly, that's what I'm giving.
Yeah, no, I get that, but it's like it's almost like you're shitting on a concept that you don't necessarily like as much to see 5 or 6 movies out of. When I would argue, no, I would love to see 5 or 6 movies about one civilization trying to take over another civilization and the ramifications of that, because it's huge. It's not just, hey, we came to this planet to try to conquer you guys, we lost, we left, and that's it.
I could agree to that. And I think, Addy, I think you're right there in that, like, I think we're coming at it from an angle where, like, you, also me, like, didn't particularly enjoy the film. I liked one.
No, I said I liked it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you didn't love it. You didn't fall, like, you're not going to watch it tonight. So, like, I watched the first one, really liked the first one. I watched the second one. I enjoyed the second one as well. Where I'm coming from is a position of I don't necessarily like it enough to want or like really like, oh, I gotta see part 3, 4, and 5. Whereas Addie's coming from a position of like you did and you do want to see more content like from Avatar and James Cameron. I mean, and all of this is just like us giving our opinions. Like, no one's right or wrong. And I think that's a very interesting take. We've got 3 people in the room. 2 people are like, I think you're like, no. I'm like, take it or leave it. And Addie's like, yes.
No, I'm not saying no. What do you mean as far as the sequels go?
Yeah.
Take it or leave it?
I think you're more so like nah, I don't need any more. Like you personally are like, no, I don't need any more.
No, if they come out, if Avatar 3, I'll probably see. I probably won't see in theaters if I'm being honest with you. I don't think I'm not sitting in
theaters either. I will watch
the
it
theater for 3 hours for Avatar. And I think the reason why I'm saying that, I enjoy wrestling with the themes of movies much more than I did, back when I watched the first Avatar, right? I'm a completely different movie watcher now than I was back then. But I think the subtlety of maybe what you're saying, Addy, is that Avatar's a deeper watch than Endgame, and like anything that Marvel's right now, right? That's what you're saying?
On the surface, yeah, if I'm just looking at it, what the overall message that it's sending, even if I'm just looking at the trailer, yeah, absolutely. Like if you were to try to ask me, what are the deeper meanings in, Endgame or any one of the Infinity Wars or whatever, I'm sure you guys could tell me all the different intricacies of it, anything just on the surface level. So when I'm looking at what message is trying to be sent just based on, Avatar 1 and the trailer and, the log line, the tagline, everything, like, yeah, like I could get it. I'm into it. The other ones that we were just discussing, Infinity War, Endgame, I couldn't tell you I'm not interested in it. Watched a couple of the movies or tried to at least, didn't catch my attention. Whereas in putting, James Cameron's Avatar into reality, I could see something like that actually happening. If the science does improve, if, travel to other, worlds does, somehow get accomplished, the complexities of what James Cameron is talking about, I can see absolutely happening. So yeah, to me, like, absolutely, I do see the deeper meanings in both those movies.
Yeah, I think the basis of what I'm trying to argue is that they're actually not that dissimilar. I think maybe the Marvel is more commodified, even though I'll argue Avatar is absolutely way more. In fact, it's actually stunning how commodified Avatar is compared to Marvel, based on that there's only 2 movies that exist, and one just came out just recently.
And based on like what you guys have told me about it, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off necessarily there, but like I can absolutely like understand that what you're saying. I think my gripe with it is the way you started the conversation about it is man, James Cameron manipulated these people into giving him all this money to make all these movies.
I did that as a segue.
It's like, no,
and also he
like,
did manipulate to make 5 of them.
Yeah.
No, Addy, come on, you have to admit.
I mean,
No,
hold on.
Time out. Everybody,
show.
time the fuck out. Addy, you're telling me that it was like when James Cameron walked into their office, he didn't have to fucking like hit him with some fucking like Jedi mind tricks in order to be like, yeah, 5
Absolutely
sounds
not.
5 sounds like a right number to me.
Absolutely not. And you know why? Because James Cameron would be smart enough to come in there with detailed information that he got from all of his staffers, all of his people who worked on the budgeting, the expected, costs, how much revenue we can expect it. He presented that probably within 30 minutes and got that funding.
So also,
You
the
think
studio
James
could have come
Cameron
to
got
James
this
Cameron.
funded within
because
30
when
minutes?
did he fail at the box office?
I don't know if he's failed.
James Cameron has had tons of failures at the box. He's had major successes.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But he's also
Which
had
will
massive.
outweigh-
I also think there's a world in which maybe the studio came to him and asked, "Hey, are you willing to produce?"
could be
No.
5
Again,
of these
you both
projects?
misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying the wild part is that they're doing sequels for Avatar. I'm saying it's wild that they've already funded the fucking sequels and that there's 5 or I guess 4 sequels in total. That's what I'm saying is the wild part.
I think
Okay, I can.
from
Okay,
my
then I can
perspective,
understand what you're saying
because
there.
I don't love these like the Avatar movies. I'm not like super in love with them. Like to me, that's kind of wild. Like $1 billion and like there's like 3 more of these things coming. It does seem kind of crazy, but at the same time, there is an audience of people who like love these films and like they're excited that there are 3 more coming. Fuck, we'll see. I don't know. Listen, what if James Cameron just ups and I'm retired. I'm done with this, and somebody else comes in, and
I think that's kind of what I'm saying. Is that it's wild because there's so much that can happen between now and then. It's even wild when Marvel announces a movie that we're going to come out with fucking
this thing in 8 years,
whatever.
Yeah.
But at least Marvel, they've increased that based on their success, right? Avatar was one movie that came out in 2000. It did numbers. Don't get me wrong; it was the highest grossing movie of all time.
That is the crazy part,
fucking wild. One
wild. Successful movie, and they're like, "Yo, here's
run
$1 billion.
run
it back,
yo." Because you don't know, the world could change. People could stop just going. People did stop going. Right now, the summer box office is fucking leaking money. Right. The Flash didn't do numbers. I hear that there's rumblings that Mission Impossible might not do numbers. So we're entering a world that is vastly different than when Avatar was made in 2009. So to me, it's kind of fucking wild that you would greenlight that. Now, obviously, they greenlighted them years ago, right?
Yeah.
So maybe, but that's all the more reason why I'm saying it's wild that they did that.
That was before. So was it like greenlit before COVID?
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
way before. So this has been going on since what, 2015.
So
maybe even 16 or
COVID
somewhere
and how that changed the nature of the the film industry and like the movie, the audience perspectives and audience wants and needs and desires, right? Of like being able to, because that 3D shit, I don't really think 3D is going to be hot anymore.
Was this one even in 3D?
Yeah,
I don't even think it was.
If it was, I wouldn't have bought the 3D tickets. Just show me the shit, right? Yeah. And then also,
did you watch both the original and this one in 3D, Eddie?
No, I only watched The Way of Water in 3D, which to me the 3D honestly doesn't really add a whole lot. Again, I'm more there to see the story and how everything unfolds. So 3D meant nothing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, here's another person, and I'm going to pivot really quickly, but here's another person who could be manipulating themselves into a super bag, or maybe they've kind of like passed their. I'm not going to say their prime because I think that's a shitty way to put it, but who's maybe their time in the sun is dying out a little bit, and they're going to need to take like a smaller role or just bring in a bigger team to support them. So I'm talking about Undisputed. As we all know, Shannon Sharp, who I think has been on the show with Skip Bayless, who like recruited him and really asked for Shannon Sharp to join the cast of Undisputed. They've more recently part ways. I think this was like after 7 years of doing the show together. Shannon's last few episodes were like back in June. He is now like doing something. I think he's like, there's rumors that he might go like Spotify or like a smaller network and like have his own show, essentially giving himself like full creative control, right? So good for him. Now, what's happening with Undisputed though is they're having trouble finding talent to replace Shannon Sharp. I wonder if that is due to the fact that people are reluctant to work with Skip after they've seen the relationship between him and Shannon Sharp deteriorate, or or is it just like contract terms and negotiations, right? Does Skip want a lot more money? Is he trying to is Skip like, hey, like, I think it's like 65 or in his 70s or something like that. Skip is up there. So is he trying to like secure like a significant contract that maybe FS1 is trying not to give him, right? But also he's still under contract with them. I wonder if he's trying to renegotiate his contract. I wonder if he wants too much control into who they bring on next because he wants someone that he can, in that opposite seat, somewhat more control than he was able to with like Shannon Sharp. There's a lot of like mystery that's going on with Undisputed. I think it was slated to come back August 1st, and then it was pushed back to like end of August. But it still seems like they're having trouble finding talent.
Yeah. I think it's probably like a mixture of like a lot of things.
Probably,
I think, I don't think it's, to me, I don't know if it's going to be a situation of like money, right? Because I think, they probably were already paying Skip a pretty handsome amount, and they probably will just continue to be paying him that handsome amount. And I don't, at this point, I don't think, I mean, if he is haggling, if he is holding things up over money, I would say that missing out on like 2 months of the show, that's aggressive power play. To miss out on 2 months of the show because you're doing it for money.
Yeah.
Because at this point, the world moves very fast, and it's going to take people a long time to get used to him and whoever the fuck else and to give a shit, right? about whoever else he brings on there. So the sooner you get them on air, the better it is for everybody involved, and the more money everybody can make, right?
Yeah.
If they get a combination that works. So I don't think it's going to be a money thing. What I do think is finding somebody who's going to give you something similar to what Shannon Sharp did, and it also is going to play nice with Skip. And I think that Shannon Sharp was a fucking unicorn in that respect, that he stood 7 years of arguing with Skip about utter fucking nonsense and was willing to do it willingly. And took all of Skip's nonsense and insults and all this.
A lot of low blows and like personal jabs
For no fucking apparent reason. I like the one that still blows my mind is when he was like, you had Skip Bayless, who looked like an old shrivel up fucking dude in the seat opposite of fucking Hulk.
Yeah,
looking Shannon
like 56,
Sharp.
Shannon
He's
Sharp.
Like,
he looks like he could still play.
He's like, Brady, you know, he's better than you at this age. He's like, bitch, I'm in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And like that whole back and forth that they had. A lot of people say it was the dude who off the Bills, who's the dude that
the like player or
the
like
player,
coach?
no. The dude passed
Stephon
out.
Diggs.
No, the player.
DeMar Hamilton.
DeMar Hamilton.
Yeah.
People say it was that was like the thing that was like a bridge too far. Because they remember like the day after. Remember Skip made that tweet, and then the day after Shannon wasn't out on the show.
Yeah,
and then
because I think Skip was like, "Hey, are they going to continue?" Like his.
Yeah,
it seems like his priority was like, "Are they going to continue?"
If you ask me, that whole thing was like kind of misunderstood because Skip wasn't what Skip said wasn't as bad as what everybody was like pretending that it was. He said it in a very stupid
end of the world
way.
comment. I think it was like careless, and you could just see that he really didn't care about the players, like the game.
No. He did, but the way he organized the actual tweet was he put the thing he probably should have said first, like last. So people really only kind of read the beginning of what he said. It was like, oh my God, Skip is an inhuman.
Yeah.
But they didn't like make it all the way. Either they did or they didn't care by the time they made it to the end, in which case, yes, that was a stupid comment. But also, I personally don't think it was as bad as everybody made it out to be, but that's not even the point. The point I'm trying to make is
jab about Tom Brady and his longevity over like Shannon's, that was a direct jab, yeah.
So when Shannon came back after the DeMar Hamilton, whichever it is.
I think it's DeMar
Hamlin, right? I think it's Hamlin.
Hamlin.
Yeah, DeMar Hamlin. The day when he came back from that, he made like a thing and he was like talking about it. He was like, I wish Skip would take the tweet down, and he was going to continue with what he said, and then Skip interrupted him.
And then he's not going to, right?
And then or he was like, well, correction, I'm not going. He's like, man, just let me finish my goddamn thing.
Yeah.
You know? And so everybody thinks it was that. I don't think it was that. I think that was a very frustrating time, and that probably just added to the that was just gas to the fire. But I think that it genuinely was the Tom Brady shit, because it was just like, bro, like you don't need to do. You're just doing this just to do it. Like there's no reason that you have to tear me down in order to build Tom Brady up. And first of all, I've seen old clips of Skip talk about Tom Brady, and it was not favorable back in the day before Brady was Brady as we know him now.
Skip will he often changes his like viewpoint on like a certain player or a certain thing based off of
how much success they have
right in the moment, right? So yeah, I do think what we saw.
No, to be fair, LeBron has had much success, and Skip will never concede that.
For sure,
I don't even know if he thinks he's a basketball player. He's like he's still contending that. He's
Skip
like,
just hates
is he a
LeBron.
basketball player? Or does he play hockey? I think he might play hockey.
And part of it is Skip. LeBron never responds to Skip, right? But he has a great relationship with like Shannon.
I think you should have him on the shop. That would be the best episode.
I think there's too many other people in the room. Like a one-on-one discussion might be more interesting than like Skip.
No, because I think we would get peak Skip if there was many people in the room, because then he's going to feel more comfortable with just to say whatever fuck it is he wants to say. When it's one-on-one, it's very confrontational.
Yeah. I mean, the shop is like such. I think they're like 30-minute episodes, right? So it's like a short show.
Special edition episode. Like maybe it's one other person other than LeBron.
Yeah, like it would have to be a smaller group of people so you could
Skip,
really
Shannon, and LeBron. Oh my God,
that would be crazy. But I don't think that will ever happen.
Nah, it's never gonna
either way, so like back to Undisputed, I think that like they're having trouble finding talent, and you're right. Like the trouble's not just the money. It's not just finding like someone who is good at commentating, an analyst or a former player who, you know, like a Ryan Clark or something like that, right? It's not that simple. It's finding someone who can sit with Skip, sit across from Skip, hold their own, right? Not necessarily be like manipulated by Skip. Like you don't want him owning and controlling the show in a way that Colin Cowherd does. Like, I don't really like that style of
No, and also
show
they're
commentary.
kind of the same person.
Very
Colin
similar.
Cowherd is just kind of a toned down version of Skip.
Yeah.
They're effectively the same person.
A little bit more likable. I think he just sounds good. He has a good radio voice. I'll give him that. I would listen to Colin Cowherd individually more than I would listen to Skip Bayless
No,
individually.
I would argue that they both say the like equally preposterous things. Is that Colin Cowherd, he doesn't for one, he doesn't have anybody to bounce it off of, so it's not like he argues with people that often, right? And I think it's specifically made that way. Like he'll put like maybe Joy
Behar or something like
or
that.
somebody in the other seat or some
I
other
think,
person.
I think it used to be was Joy Taylor.
Joy Taylor.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. Is Joy Behar.
I think
Who is Joy Behar.
I think she was the host of like Undisputed with Skip and Shannon,
okay.
and then Joy Taylor was with Colin Cowherd.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that they just that person is just there to nod and agree and to
Yeah.
maybe add in some other facts and sprinkles here and there. That person is not meant to fucking get into a full-fledged back and forth.
Yeah, they're not like a co-anchor to the show.
No,
or anything
in
like
fact,
that.
I would argue probably that's why Joy Taylor is probably not there. Is because she's probably a little bit too argumentative, a little too.
She definitely has her own opinion, and I really like Joy Taylor.
I don't.
Where is she
I
at
think
right now? Is
she's
she with
she's with
First
she's with
Take?
Acho. No, she's with Acho
Got
on whatever the Speak First or whatever the fuck that show is.
Yeah, I like Joy Taylor. I know some people don't.
I
like
don't
her.
like
I think
her,
I think
dude.
she's one of like when it comes to like commentating, being able to.
I think
her
that
and
she-
Mina Kimes.
Mina. Oh yeah, Mina's good. Mina's good.
Love them both.
I think Joy says a lot of things. I think she does say a lot of things. I think she learned from Colin that she just has spicy takes that it's just
Yeah.
like, this is stupid. This is honestly
Maybe.
really dumb.
Do you
Like,
think?
this is-
Do you think they bring in a female co-anchor to sit across from Skip?
Fuck no. Are you crazy?
Why is that?
There is no chance in hell they're bringing a female co-anchor with Skip. First of all,
Like a Carrie Champion or-
Skip looks like he's from 1945, where he's like, women have jobs.
Yeah.
You know, like, interesting.
I think Skip would get in a lot of hot water with maybe like just like knowing him, knowing how like his like because if he's gonna go at Shannon Sharp,
There's
and
just
make
because
insulting
he's a bully.
comments-
Skip's a bully,
Yeah.
and all he's going to try to do is bully the other person, and the optics of that is going to look wild.
Yeah. Do you think maybe that's what what Undisputed needs, right? Because like, look at what happened at ESPN recently. They just offloaded a shit ton.
Ooh, do you want to hear my
of
interesting take
staff.
on that?
Yeah.
So my interesting take on that is that I think they were right to. I am no way saying that it's right to just lay off a shit ton of people, basically on no notice.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is they see the tide that has already passed them by. That their attempt to get McAfee is stupid beyond belief. Like they did kind of one understandable thing and a very not understandable thing. They fired half of their staff, right? On-air talent, people behind the scenes, and then they got McAfee. I think their thought there is let's co-opt the enemy, right? Because
Yeah.
McAfee has an audience like nobody else, right? It's crazy, and honestly, if I'm being honest, he's an entertaining dude. Also, I don't personally get the big deal,
But Pat McAfee, I've never once seen his show. I've
watch it. You should watch it.
I've
I
seen
watch it all the
clips
time.
of it. I don't really like Pat. Like, what the fuck is he? Isn't he a
he's
kicker?
he's a former kicker. Highly entertaining. He's a highly entertaining guy.
Maybe
don't get me
I've
wrong.
never seen the show. I know he has a buzz, and I know he's like. I think his relationship with like, or at least Aaron Rodgers, always being willing to go on his show to kind of like bolster his like presence. I don't. Maybe it's just me because I don't have like history listening to Pat McAfee. I look at
No,
all
just
the.
turn on any episode.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
I feel like you would find it interesting.
Yeah, I'll turn it. I'll give it a try. But when I just look at the amount of layoffs that they have, I'm just like, holy shit. But
it's-
maybe you're right in that like it's long overdue. Maybe they had too much talent and it was too heavy, and they should focus on instead of having like 12 different shows about essentially the same shit.
I mean, it's going to be boring if they just have like this fucking first take.
yeah, because
12 hours out of
ESPN
the
is
day.
24 hours, so you need
you need something,
Yeah,
right?
you need a lot of shit.
So, but here's the problem with what they did. So they fired a bunch of people. They got McAfee, and what they think they're going to do is co-opt the enemy, right? But instead, what they're going to do is just empower those people that they fired. So what do you think Max Kellerman's going to do? I don't think Max Kellerman's going to go to Fox because maybe the conventional idea is maybe he's going to go to First Things First.
Yeah.
Or Skip or Undisputed.
Yeah, Undisputed has a lot of
but
people
he-
to like look at now.
But he's going
Jalen Rose,
But they
maybe?
would run into the same problem that ESPN did in that this whole concept of how they're doing media is super antiquated.
Yeah.
That they had a few people on a panel, and then they're just going to argue back and forth for a while, and they're not really going to say what's really on their mind. They're going to kind of say the super fucking sanitized version of it. That's kind of dead, right? That's dead. The online commentators are getting all of that. All of the people that used to watch those shows now are watching fucking Dan Le Batard, right? They're watching his show that he has, whether it's YouTube or Spotify. I don't know where he is, but he's not like affiliated with any
ESPN anymore.
ESPN. They're going to be watching my guy Tom Grossi. He's a big Packer fan, but he just did 30 for 30. He did 30 stadiums in 30 days, I think it was in 30 days. Something like that. I forget exactly what the tenets of it were, but he was on McAfee's show. He was on like all these like, news outlets and things like that because people were covering it, because every stadium he would go to, he would be organizing people and they were raising money for, I think it was like St. Jude or some shit like that. And he raised like maybe like a $500,000 or like a $250,000 for St. Jude. This is a fucking YouTuber.
Yeah. And he's not a part of like the big networks.
He's just a fucking, a Packer fan that he has a Packer podcast that he does, and he live streams on Sundays, and he just whatever game is on, he'll just live stream and talk about and people fucking tune in to watch his shit in bigger clips than they're watching ESPN at any fucking point.
Also,
in time,
we saw like Peyton and Eli, right? What like their show kind of like took off, right? Back to the Undisputed though, I think like they're definitely going to have a bit of an issue here. Maybe the problem's already solved and we just haven't announced it yet. But I think it's going to be.
I think they're pushing it back because they don't. I think that there's probably a dispute about the talent itself, because he saw something in Shannon that I didn't see, right? Like, and I'm not saying that I have like the best taste in the world, but seeing Shannon on CBS before he was on Undisputed, it was like, I mean, he's cool, but
I've always loved Shannon, like even as a player. So like, for me, I'm like, this is gonna work. You just have to fine tune it, going from player to commentator is a little bit different. We saw Ray Lewis struggle with it.
The reason why we like Shannon though isn't just because, like, it's because of like he'll show up with the Hennessy and the fucking Black and Mild, you know what I mean? Like he'll do shit like that, and I think that's why he's in there. Or he'll skip, you know what I mean? Like I think it's shit like that why people like him. I don't think you could have I personally couldn't have foreseen that. Right, of that he just would ingratiate himself with people because of these like antics and things like that he does, which is so unique to him. It's hard to say you're going to replace that with somebody else without having that person either try to be a carbon copy of them, which they're not going to be able to be. Also, we don't know if they have their own style, if we're going to like that the same. So I think it's a problem where they're trying to find the right person, and those are hard shoes. I feel like you could have more easily replaced Skip than Shannon. I know that's probably a controversial thing to say because everybody hates Skip, and that's what brings people to the show is to see him dunk on Skip. But I think it would have been easier to find a replacement for Skip than for Shannon, because for Skip it's just you just need somebody who's really argumentative and says stupid shit and gets under people's skin, which is not fucking Dan Orlovsky. Perfect example. He says a lot of stupid shit that
Skip
annoys
is
the fuck out of me.
An analyst and a commentator, right? You can replace that easier than you can with like a former player, right?
With the color commentator.
Exactly. Like people, I think what reason why people like Shannon so much is because like he actually did this shit, right?
Yeah.
Like he didn't just talk about it; he did it. Yeah. And now he's talking about it. So you get that articulate player perspective, right? With Skip, and Skip is great at what he does, which is why he's lasted as long as he has. Yeah. And I'm not going to say it's going to be easy to replace Skip, but I do think that like I could see Shannon paired with another like analyst writer in the same vein as Skip.
I still fucking tune in.
For Skip, it's going to be very difficult to pair him with the right person.
Yeah, so, if he's not with the right person, I just have no reason to tune in.
The show with all the other competition, right? Because if they don't pair Skip with the right person, I'm just gonna go back to First Take.
I wouldn't even go back to First. I would just not.
I would just find something else.
Yeah, I'm good.
So FS1 needs to get this right. But like really quickly, I want to talk about who do you think that who the fuck should they not bring in?
Keyshawn Johnson, definitely don't bring him in. He's newly unemployed from ESPN. Basically anybody from ESPN. Don't bring in anybody from ESPN.
I wouldn't mind Jalen Rose.
No,
and Skip.
No, because
I think Jalen can handle his own.
No, Jalen can handle his own, and I understand that he was on First Take, and then he has that whole famous moment where he compared. He was like, "Weren't you like Pistol Pete?"
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
talking
yeah,
to Skip.
He was like, you had 2 points. You averaged 2 points in all of your high school.
Yeah, I understand he had that moment and that was entertaining, but I don't think you can carry an entire fucking show all based off of that energy.
Paul Pierce.
No, too much of a wobby. Yo,
Paul
that
Pierce
shit with him and Kevin Garnett was
Paul Pierce
the
didn't
most
even know they were
hilarious.
live.
Yo, Addy, did you see this? Did you see this clip?
No, I did not.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Like I wish I could easily tell you how to like bring it up, but
So
it's.
I'll give you a
really
quick
too
rundown.
complicated.
So Kevin
Oh
Garnett,
my God.
Kevin Garnett's building like a very notable post basketball career. So he's live streaming, he's watching the game, and just like Eli and Peyton do, he's commentating while the game is on, right? So he invited Paul Pierce to sit with him, comment on the game, just give like the inside basketball former player perspective.
So from the jump, Paul Pierce was wet.
Paul Pierce was already drunk when he got there.
Yo, he was gone.
He brought a girl with him, right? And now this was a girl that he paid for to be there with him, like the girlfriend experience. So he's sitting there, they're live, right?
And he starts talking about that.
And he's like, I paid for her to be here, so I bought my girlfriend for her.
And Kevin Garnett in not super subtle ways is like, yo, live stream. We're live streaming here. This game is crazy, right? Live stream. We're live.
He's trying his hardest to maintain professionalism and let Paul Pierce know that, bro, we're live.
Yo,
you cannot. You
isn't
already
his
got
live
fired.
Stream wild.
He's already got fired from ESPN. You don't do this shit again, right? And fucking Paul Pierce will not listen.
He just refused to listen.
He's like, we ain't live. And he even challenged it. He's like, show me the stream. Show me the stream. Show me the comments. He keeps saying, show me the comments. Show me the comments. So they bring over like a laptop or an iPad to show him that, hey.
No, they didn't even do that. I think somebody probably from his team like texted him or something like that. And so he's looking at his phone. And then this is like when the game is like almost over. Yeah, this is when the game is like almost over. And he goes, oh wait, are we live?
Yeah, and then in like the last 5 minutes,
yo, we're not even doing it justice. You just have to watch it.
It is yourself.
Fucking
but it's crazy.
Perfection.
Like in the moment he realizes they've been live the whole time, he's like, oh shit, and then you could see him trying to button up. And you see they're running a 3-man. Like,
and what's crazy is like the woman next to him, who's like, who I guess it was his escort. She was additionally trying to be like, yo, chill out, bro.
I guess he got what he paid for a good girlfriend experience. She was
on point.
She was trying to get him.
She wasn't even trying to get in the shot. She was just like, yo.
She was like, hey, listen, you already paid me. I'm trying to help you out here. I'm trying to be your girlfriend.
I'm trying not to fuck up the bag for everybody involved here. That shit was legendary.
Yeah. So I mean, just to wrap up the whole thing about Undisputed, I don't know what they're going to do.
Should not be Paul Pierce,
but they're going to have to get it right. They're going to have to find someone who can balance Skip.
They're not going to. I don't think they're going to find anybody to replace him that we're going to care about equally as much as Shannon, because Shannon had something very unique.
Such a big personality.
Yeah.
Like you can't bring in someone.
Have predicted that.
You could bring in someone good, but if you don't have someone, and I'm not going to say like you're not going to copy and paste this Shannon Sharp, right? But you have to bring in someone who is going to bring that same energy and fun and flair and the antics, the great storytelling, and that commentary.
I think him and Stephen A just need to make it work.
Who, Skip and Stephen A?
Yeah, just because that's. I don't really care about Stephen A without Skip. I don't really care about Skip without Stephen A. Like I mean, Shannon made Skip a little relevant, but
I think I've moved on from Stephen A and Skip. I'm not gonna say like they're old wolves, old dogs, or whatever, but like they have to be paired with like I feel like younger, fresh talent, right? Because I do not want to listen to Stephen A all day. Fuck that.
I don't
want
to listen to either of them
all day.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't want to listen to both of them talking. I need them to
That's fair.
To go their separate ways respectfully and be paired with like someone like a younger, fresh talent that has like a different perspective. Because let's be real, Skip Bayless and Stephen A. They're journalists, they're commentators, they're analysts, right? These shows, why
do people keep calling them journalists? Like
Skip Bayless is a journalist. Like that's what
maybe he historically has done journalism. That's definitely not what he's doing now.
I think he's still a writer. I think he's still writing. Doesn't he have like a book that he's writing or something like that is coming out?
The fuck if
about
I know.
fucking how great Tom Brady is. Maybe I don't know. He probably wrote.
Does Brady like no teeth? Just like a little bit of teeth.
He wasn't in that movie.
And in
80 for Brady.
He was dressed up as one of the women.
He's probably pissed they didn't cast him or even call him. But either way, they're gonna have to get it right. It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens. I think they pushed it back until August 28th, so they've got some time to get it right. But they have to get it right, or this show might be on its last legs. And Skip signed a 4-year deal with them in 2021.
Yeah.
So 2025, that contract. So it's looking like they might. You got a year and a half here.
Yeah, I think all sports media, like especially like the mainstream sports media, like on ESPN or FS1, I think all of that is going to be. They're going to have a rough like 5 years because everything is moving to online. I don't know what comes after online because or I'm sorry, like on like YouTube and shit. I don't know what comes after that because it feels like there's going to get a natural like saturation point. There's only so many fucking commentators and there's only so many eyes fucking watching each individual one.
Yeah.
Which is why ESPN and FS1 made sense for so many years because it was one place to come to watch everybody that you would want to watch.
Yeah.
But now it's so spread out that okay, you just go to your own enclave, but I don't know if there's enough eyes to support everybody individually, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't know. But I think that whatever model that they have now is not going to work. So just pairing somebody else with Skip, I think,
and doing the same thing,
it's just not the landscape of the show changed. Like, and you don't have enough time to endear like the clips of Shannon saying some wild shit or Skip saying some wild shit on like TikTok or whatever. Okay, that's fire. That I'm sure that's the reason why the show's sort of blown up over the last a few years, like 2 or 3 years. But in reality, you need to give somebody else time in order to build that kind of like momentum up. They've been working together they were just at the right time, right place, kind of situation. Are they going to get that again? I don't think so. So they would be best, I think, to figure out what is our model? Forget who we pair with them. What is our fucking model? Because in the next 5 years, this shit is gonskis.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I think certain pillar shows, like, the ESPN shows, FS1, I think those are going to be around for a while longer.
No, they will force them down our throats. What I'm saying is nobody's going to be watching them.
What are they going to have on TV on mute when I'm in the gym and they didn't turn closed captions on, so I don't know what they're saying. I just see like people talking about sports, but I'm still on the treadmill looking at it like, think
about it this way. Who are they going to have on now? They've literally ESPN. They've already fired everybody.
Yeah, it's just
who the fuck are they going to? The same 3 people.
More Stephen A. and JJ Redick, who I like. And again, they got it right with like Stephen A. and JJ, because JJ Redick is not going to let you get away with some bullshit.
What is the difference about JJ Redick? He already has his own platform.
True.
You see what I'm saying? Like he's coming into it with his own platform, right? And he's not going to let that go, regardless of whether ESPN keeps him or not. He's keeping his own. He has his own following. Yeah, that's a positive move for ESPN.
But even beyond that, I think he is a balance, right? Because Stephen A. he's loud, he's aggressive, he's bold. Like he can and will control any conversation if you allow him to. But like having someone on board, like a former player who again is articulate, knows what the fuck he's talking about, can balance what you're going to get from a Stephen A. So that's what they need to do with FS1 for Skip.
All right, before we get out of here, what are we watching right now? We ask that every week.
Yeah, I got a good one this week.
Shoot.
Have you guys ever seen this show called The Night Agent?
You talked about last week.
Yeah. Did I talk about this?
Yeah.
All right. So I was on the fence.
Or the week before. Whichever.
So the Night Agent, this is a TV series aired in 2013. This is on Netflix. This TV show is starring... Who the fuck are these people? Starring Gabriel Basso. I haven't really seen him in anything else. I'm sure he's been in shit, but Gabriel Basso, who plays Peter Sutherland, Lucian Buckman.
You tried.
Yeah, I tried.
Just let it go. Yeah.
Who plays Rose, and a bunch of other people you may or may not have seen from other shit, right? Yeah. So in the first couple of episodes of the show, I was like, this just seems like another show about a FBI agent who uncovers a terrorist plot, but not like from like outside terrorists that's like happening within the White House, and we gotta get on the run and unsolve it. He's on the run with a woman. They spend lots of nights sleeping in hotels, eventually hook up, fall in love, and now they're in a relationship on the run from the government, trying to unfoil a terrorist plot. That's what the show's about.
I've
right?
never seen the show once in my life. This is so unfamiliar.
I just summed it up.
Yeah, this is so unfamiliar for me. It's not like that's the plot of every show that I've seen in the last.
I'm not gonna lie, they didn't really do much here to be original, but there are 2 stars. So there's one particular person in the show that I really like. Her is an actress character. So her name is Hong Cho, and she plays a character named Diane Farr. Here's why I fucking love this woman, and here's why I'm really.
Do you love her?
I love her. I love her. I told her.
Wow, you told her. Wow.
I would tell her. I would tell her to her face. Here's what I love about this show,
And mean it. And mean it.
I would mean it for those 15 minutes. So
Only 15 minutes.
that's all I got. I'm in my 30s. So here, so there's some backstory to that you guys probably don't get, or you probably do get the jokes. Anyway,
I don't think they need to structure that.
so
part
here's
of it.
why I like this show, right? One, so this the actress who plays Diane Farr, Hong Cho, is great actress, very believable, very likable in this role.
Yeah.
I love how much language they have in this show, right? But it's not just like senseless, mindless cursing. It's like fuck, bitch, I kill you. It is like very appropriate.
What show is that you remember? Fuck, bitch.
It's got to be some show. I don't know. I pulled that from
I feel like
somewhere.
that's Power.
Maybe. That was probably Tommy. That was probably Tommy Egan. But in this show, they curse very purposefully, and it feels like. Here's what I like about this show. It feels like they're having real, like, genuine dialogue, like how you and I would talk to each other, how friends would talk to, how real people talk to each other.
Yeah.
Not like actors reading a script, trying to give the notion of being like a real person. The dialogue feels real, and I particularly like how much they curse. But they don't curse like, I'm going to fucking kill him. Like, they're like, hey, get the fuck out of there. Like, and it feels real and like authentic. Like it probably wasn't scripted. Like one of the FBI agents will like have ran up on one of the bad guys, and they should say like, freeze, FBI, get down, right? Because like that would seem like what the FBI would say. But in this show, they're like, get the fuck down, bitch.
I feel like they were more likely to say that though.
So probably real FBI agents. If I'm an FBI agent, I just caught a bad guy. I'm like, get the fuck down. I'm gonna blow your fucking head off if you move.
Whenever I've watched like
how cops talk to
like
kids
watching Cops, I feel like they talk more like that.
Yeah, then they do in like in
Or maybe I'm just remembering it wrong.
Like
but I don't know why I have this like strong or like if I'm just like watching clips of just like cops interacting with people like and they're being filmed by whether it's their what do they call them?
Body cam,
or if it's somebody like filming them, I feel like it's way more of like get the fuck down, like it's
exactly.
like
and in this show,
aggressive.
Like, people will be like the director of the FBI or like the deputy director of fucking secret information in the White House or the chief of staff,
director of secret information.
Like we know who to kidnap, the director of secret information. But they'll be like they'll be like talking to each other like shut the fuck up, John, and then John is like the chief of staff in the White House, like and it's just like it feels like the dialogue. It's like scripted but unscripted in a way that's actually surprisingly good. Let me just mute this shit. So it's scripted, but it feels unscripted in a way that's like good. I like it. It feels like I'm watching the show. I'm like, I didn't expect them to say that shit, because it feels like they should be a little bit more professional. But like you have like the vice president being like, "Bitch, who are you talking to like that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I like this show. Let me pour a glass of wine. Let me pour up a drink here and see what's going on."
Yeah, that's cool. I more recently watched Flash. I watched The Flash. I really wish that people didn't hype it up. Not because I didn't think it was a decent enough movie, but because there were statements thrown around like this is the greatest superhero movie of all time. I remember James Gunn famously, was quoted saying that. Just a general buzz that people were just in awe of this movie. And after watching it, obviously no spoilers, but it was okay. It was all right. I'm not making a big deal out of it. I'm not saying it was hot garbage. There's now people like online like the CGI in Flash is garbage and all this. I'm just like, fam, like if you've watched fucking superhero movies over the past fucking 10 years, this is an okay superhero movie. Like I don't know what to tell you here. Like it's not tremendously worse and it's not tremendously better than anything I've seen.
Also, when I see people talking about the CGI, I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. Do you know how hard this shit probably is to get perfectly right?
Yeah. People oftentimes when they have no skin in the game, like if I come down to your job of like wherever the fuck it is your job is and be like, I've seen better than this.
Yeah.
Be like, yo, sir,
dude.
come on.
Like there'll be like a scene in the movie where the entire city is falling and like people are running.
Yeah.
And like, of course, they didn't really make New York City like they didn't suck it up into and then like drop it with like a fucking world engine, right? Like they didn't really do that. So they have to fake it, and it's very, very. You have like
I think people's
100
point-
people trying to fake that.
I think people's point is that it's been done in other movies. It's probably been better, or it's better done in other places than with whatever the fuck it is that they're watching. So in this case, they're talking about The Flash, and I'm like, that's fine and well, but also it's like at a certain point, like I don't know. For me personally speaking, unless it's like egregious,
Yeah.
I really don't give a shit. Like it's fine. Like suspension of disbelief, right?
Yeah.
I'm here in the fucking movie. If that fucking thing doesn't quite look like whether I know it's CGI, and that's why I prefer watching Christopher Nolan movies, is because he uses as much practicals as he can possibly do, meaning that he does everything as realistically as he, like even with Oppenheimer.
I think there's no CGI in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, apparently, like they recreated the atomic bomb explosion by actually detonating like an actual bomb. Like, but that's why I like watching his movies because
Terrace is like, we got to get into the film
yo,
industry. We have
you just do this
access
shit
to bombs.
legally, like Jesus. So I watched it. It was okay. It was fine. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah,
It was okay.
I really enjoyed it, but like I'm not gonna
Oh,
say
you did watch it?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I didn't. Oh, then
Yeah.
let's actually fucking talk about it, like super quick, because we only have so much time.
Yeah. Let's give this like 3 or 4 minutes. 'Cause, like I just thought it was a really good first movie, right? Like let's say they make 1 or 2 more of these things, right? Pretty good start. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it was
I
a
don't
decent thing to build upon.
I think that the story was
They
pretty
won't.
good. I like the fan favor in the film, right? Like showing the many worlds. They gave us our
I thought that was
Nicolas
kinda
Cage,
stupid.
Superman.
Oh, it was fan service from that standpoint.
yeah.
for
So
sure.
like, I like the
Oh no, but I don't know if I agree with like Nicolas Cage thing. Cool. The Christopher Reeves one, that was a little unsettling.
Why? Because he's dead.
He's dead. What the fuck? He didn't approve of his likeliness being used like this. This is like
maybe
remember,
his family did. I don't know. Show him some love.
probably
he
didn't.
He did the thing.
You remember when they had the hologram of like Pac and they were trying to like
Yeah,
they
like
were, it was
Coachella or
a-
whatever.
It was like some that was super distasteful. It's like, dude, he's let him rest. like why the fuck does he have to be here after he's dead in hologram form? Like,
Well, he's
let's-
not actually, but I think what
No,
it does
you
is
get what
like,
I mean.
Yeah, it allows this person's legacy to live on, right?
Do they my problem with that is that they're not consenting to that. It's different if
Well, they're dead. They can't consent to it. But
exactly. That's my point.
But like, did his? I'm sure they may have. Like Nicolas Cage would
Are you
probably
sure about
have to
that?
sign off on
Well,
that.
yeah, 'cause
right?
he's still living.
So, his
And
does
maybe
his
not.
family or his next of kin maybe have to sign off on like Christopher Reeves being in it?
maybe not. I don't know. I don't have
I would
no-
like to assume that the studio's like,
and even if they did, what I'm saying is not him, right? Like whether his family signed, like you know, look at how the Prince's family, how they're all squabbling over his fortune and shit.
if I'm Christopher Reeve's family and they came to us and say, hey, we want to use his likeness in our upcoming film for The Flash, and we will obviously compensate you for it, you know, let my my family member's legacy live on. That, you know, he did do this thing. He played Superman. We're getting paid for
I think
it.
it's
Everybody's
distasteful.
good.
But so I thought that was an interesting thing to do. But for me, the best parts of the movie were and it's probably shocking no one, like the emotional parts. Like so the part at the end, everybody in the theater was in tears when he was saying goodbye to his mom for like the last time.
In the grocery store? Yeah. Also very
Oh,
unrealistic.
my God.
She's just like, you know what, you young weird guy I've never met before. Like, let me just give you this long hug, right? Now,
But
granted,
I think they're trying to imply that that's
That
kind of the type of person that she was
Yeah.
that she would just go out of her way for just like random people.
do you think there was also an implication that like she may have like recognized him? Like, you look like my
I think there were
son.
undertones of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the fact that she didn't outright say so, I think is just like she just thought he was like a random person. But also I thought that the whole plot was kind of stupid in that, like, wouldn't you just go back and stop or at least just see who the person was who murdered her? Like, he didn't even try to.
Yeah, like
He
you,
just-
he could have just went back to like that incident and like went caught the bullet or like
Oh no!
stopped
Forget.
the bad guy.
Even if you think that's good, because that would lead them to the same place where she was supposed to die, and then it changes all the shit. But he didn't even go back just to even because, to my knowledge, they don't know who actually fucking did it.
yeah,
So it's just like,
I still would want to know.
yeah, like I mean, because then in my
go
future.
back, oh damn! I guess it would still fuck things up if you went back to the day before and like
Yeah.
killed the guy.
No, yeah. So if you change anything, it's going to, which like is what we figured out by the end, is that like literally if you change anything, it's going to fuck with the future and the past.
Yeah, at least find out who the guy is. So
I thought that was
in present
interesting.
day you can go beat his ass.
Exactly. That's exactly what I would
fuck
think.
him
Yeah,
up.
I would fuck him up right now. But that was an interesting thing that they did.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. You can just go to his doorstep right now. That was the interesting thing that I thought about that they handled time travel uniquely, I think, because how they were saying like if you change something in the past, it affects not only the future, like it doesn't just create a different timeline,
Yeah.
it changes the past of that thing that you changed.
Yeah.
So everything changes then in that case, which that kind of makes sense a little bit in terms of like if you change something in the past, what that has is a ripple effect, meaning that you've now changed that timeline. So the reality that would have been if that thing would have just naturally happened on its own, that's the reality now that is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can't change the past without it impacting how
Well, I'm not speaking
events
in
from then. Yeah, I would imagine that like you said, there's a ripple effect. Like I forget which movie it was. They talk about like dropping like a pebble in a pond, and like it had the ripples that then are caused by that one little pebble you drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Create ripples that may extend outwards beyond like what the eye can see. So you go back into the past, you change something, it impacts things beyond what you're even remotely aware of, right?
Yeah.
Like we got fucking who's the Batman we got at the end?
At the George Clooney.
We got the George Clooney
Sorry,
Batman.
Eddie.
Right?
If you were
Yeah.
gonna watch The
Yeah.
Flash.
Either way, I thought it was a good movie. I'm not like fucking up in arms about it. I'm not gonna cry about it online. I'm not gonna like try and convince people that this is the greatest superhero movie ever. It's not in my top 10. It's not in my bottom 10.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's right in the middle, but like I would say high middle. It's pretty good. I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it.
Addy, I want to ask you two questions and we can get the fuck out of here. One, are you watching anything right now?
Yeah, of course. Let's see. Finished watching first season of Altered Carbon. I had read the book while I was
what'd
in
you
France.
think of that?
I thought it was fantastic, and it did the book justice. Joel Kinnaman, one of my all-time favorite actors, fantastic as Takashi Kovacs. Won't watch
what
the
show
second
did he
one.
used to be on?
Huh?
Didn't he used to be on one of those teeny bop shows?
Teeny Bopper shows?
Yeah. Where is he from?
I
He's
know
from
in
something.
Sweden he was in some sort of like really popular show about a family, and he was a teenager, and he stopped acting for a little while. He got big here from I think The Killing on AMC. I think they ran 4 seasons of it. That was a fantastic
I'm thinking
show
about the
too.
dude from the OC.
That's not Joel Kinnaman.
Yeah. They
So he
look
was
alike.
he was in fucking Suicide Squad.
Yeah, he was Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
He was in the
RoboCop.
Informer, RoboCop. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic actor. Loved him. He was in Hannah, the Amazon show. So I just finished watching that. I'm not going to watch the second season. I'm not a Anthony Mackie fan.
No, what happened to why aren't you an Anthony Mackie fan? Racist.
I just don't think he's that great of an
Racist.
actor.
I think
Racist.
so. I actually
Did you
think,
just say Anthony Mackie's not
I
that
just
good of an
don't
actor?
think he's that great of an actor.
Yeah, I actually think so. I've seen both seasons of Altered Carbon, and I think season 2 is much better.
Yeah, I heard great things about it. I just
haven't
have no
watched
joy
it.
to
Yeah, I
watch
haven't
it.
watched it.
Yeah. First season
I only
though.
watched season
Really?
one.
So
Yeah,
you
first
heard it's
season.
much better, but you're not gonna watch it still.
Racist.
I'm just not
insane.
an Anthony Mackie fan, man. Like,
But no.
can I not like
What
somebody?
what movie was it that you're like, yo, not feeling it? Or what show was it? Maybe.
So there was an indie movie with him, and he played a homeless man with another homeless woman. I forgot what it was called, but I don't know. It was just a terrible movie. Didn't like it. I'll have to look it up. I'll let
was
you
it
know.
just that one, or was it others?
No. I mean, I've seen him in other things. Just didn't like him, man. Just don't like him.
Hey, fair enough.
Fair
That's
enough.
just
To each his
my
own.
my opinion. I'm
each
also
his own.
watching For All Mankind on Apple Plus TV. That's a fantastic show. Re-envisioning the space race, alternate,
Yeah.
kind of timeline.
Isn't the guy Joel Kinnaman in that
Yeah,
too?
he's in it too. Yep. Yeah. We just finished watching Ted Lasso. Hilarious,
I've been
fantastic
I've been
show.
wanting to start this. I've heard the ending was not. They didn't stick it. They didn't stick the
No,
landing.
I thought the ending was justified exactly how it should be. They had a lot of
Interesting.
callbacks from the first season. It was nice.
Dude,
liked
I don't know what it is with people and endings, right? Like everybody continuously, like I still hear people to this very day fucking shitting on Game of Thrones, and I'm just like, yo, fam.
And they never have
it
a
was
good
not that bad.
reason why.
No, they do. Like they have specific reasons why.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and their reason was, "Oh, I just didn't like it. I just didn't like the way they did things." And it was like a bunch of like vague, ambiguous things. It's like, well, I just didn't like when they did the thing with the thing.
No,
It's
I
like,
think the
up.
consistent thing with Game of Thrones is that they talk about Dany's her turn of have you haven't watched Game of
No,
Thrones,
and
right?
I
Yeah.
won't. So you're good.
Fair enough. They don't care for her turn. Like, but anyways, we don't have to get into that. We don't have to rehash the whole thing. But yeah, people have a big thing about endings and not liking them, and people have very opinionated. But I think a lot of shows like stick their landing. It's just that they're ending, and people have feelings about that. I think it's more of a factor of people just hating when things end versus, especially when they end like earlier. If they last for like 12 seasons, people are like, all right, you can go ahead and end it. And it doesn't
Yeah,
really
like
matter
I
how you
don't understand it. Like in Ted Lasso, I mean, are you gonna watch it? I don't want to spoil anything.
I am going to probably
Okay, so
watch it.
I won't give you like definitive spoilers, but there's like a couple of soccer players who like throughout their entire time on the show, they have a very specific storyline for like things that aren't going right for them, and then at the end you see how it all comes together and it does go right for them. I'm just like, you're rooting for these people the entire 3 seasons, and now they
Yep.
finally get to this point, and it's like, what else do you want?
Yeah.
And it wasn't that Ted Lasso was just about Ted Lasso. Like, it had a huge cast. It was revolving around a bunch of different people and their own storylines. So it's like there's only so much stuff you can really fit into, a 50-minute episode.
I'm telling you, man, it's just about endings. People hate
Yeah,
endings.
so-
Speaking of endings, the other question that I want to ask super quick before we get out of here is, what are your quick takes on this whole Anna Kasparian TYT
With
situation?
Benny Carollo and
Yeah.
I mean, look, Anna's always had strong opinions.
Yeah.
I do think at times she might push it a little bit too far with how animated she might get about her opinions that don't really need to matter, honestly, that don't even need to be said.
Yeah.
But the one thing I do like about TYT just as a network in general, they do allow you to have your own opinions. So,
Yeah.
from one host to another host, they may not 100% agree exactly on everything. Now, I don't watch the main show as much just because of like how my work days and everything are.
Yeah.
I watch Damage Report and the Watch List a lot more. So, I'm
Yeah.
more inclined to kind of like follow John Idarola and Jared Jackson and even Dr. Rashad Ritchie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of is what it is. I'm not. It's not the first time that's happened. There
No,
have
but
been
this-
other
this-
hosts that have kind of like gone off on Anna specifically.
No, but this seems like very unique in that it's widespread. To fill you in, the Young Turks, are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I don't watch them though.
Fair enough. So basically, they've gotten a lot of blowback over the past, like, I'll probably say like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even like a month, because they're sort of like main host, right? She hosts their main show, which is
Co-host.
I would argue she's a consistent theme throughout the entire week,
Sure.
except for maybe Friday. So she's got a lot of blowback. She was, I guess, what was called like a progressive, right? And then she went on this show this past week and was like, yo, based on how I feel about all these particular issues, point by point, I don't know if I feel like I'm a progressive anymore. I don't know if I have a political home anymore. And like, it seemed like that sphere of the world, at least internet world, just exploded with people having all sorts of feelings, and everybody's like hurt and confused and like, I can't believe she would do this. And so I was asking Addy, because I know, this is something that he listens and watches. So the basic way that I feel about it is it's the main reason why I would never join any organization. I just won't. I won't ever do it. Because as soon as
Like
you
what kind of
join
organization?
literally
Like
anything, I don't give a fuck
Yeah.
if it's a PTA, if it's the fucking the wristband wearers of, Pigtown. I don't give a shit. I'm not joining it, right? The main reason is because there's something in me that's just innate where you get a group of people together, and I just realized at some point in my life that when you get that group of people together, they all kind of in some ways stop thinking for themselves. that they tend to go with whatever the group goes with. They might have like some fringe things that might be like minor things that they might disagree with, but generally speaking, they all kind of think as like one organism.
Yeah.
And as soon as somebody really, really like strongly disagrees, that person's fucking, they're gone.
Yeah,
you know?
there's definitely group mentality for sure.
Group mentality. And so I feel like that's what it is with like progressives, is that anybody who doesn't think exactly all the things that they think, then it's just like, oh, what the fuck? Like you're no longer a progressive. And it's like all about like gatekeeping too, of just like, well, we get to decide who's a progressive, who's not a progressive. And you're not progressive because you don't say these XYZ things. It's like, well, okay. Like,
which is really just opposite of how, when you look at progressive values or just, just being a progressive. Yeah.
Well, so it's a touchy thing because then it's just like, okay, well, where does that end then? Right.
Yeah.
If you like, would you call like a right winger a progressive? It's like, no, you absolutely would. There's a reason why we call certain people progressives, right? Is because they have these certain things. But the problem is they're making them, as they make them more niche, of just like, hey, if you don't like, so for instance, with people talking about like, so I never used to believe in the idea of like abolishing the police, right? But then over the course of time, I was like, oh yeah, I don't think there's any other option other than to abolish the police. But even I could admit to you, as somebody who would be like, okay, you need to abolish the police, when you say that statement, there's connotations that come along with it that just aren't marketable. You can't market that, right?
Yeah.
You can't fucking be like, let's abolish the police. Because what it makes it sound like is just like, oh yeah, let's just get rid of police. And there's no plan after that. Let's just get rid of the police, right? Which sounds fucking insane, right? Because it's like, so then if somebody comes and jacks me for my car, I have no recourse. I'm calling you up, like, yo, Ray, let's go get him, That sounds wild. But what it really is you're abolishing them and replacing them with something else that doesn't have all the roots that are rotten to their fucking core, like the police are, right? But you can't, that's not in your slogan. So when people just hear abolish the police, but there are people to this very day who say, oh, if you don't believe in abolishing the police in terms of just using the phrase, oh, you're not progressive, which is crazy. Like it's a crazy, and that's when you start gatekeeping your own community, and then also too, like trying to help people, which is what I think at the end of it, I think if I'm offering her the best interpretation of what she's doing, I think that's what Anna's trying to say, is that she's actually trying to get people to like this side, so all those right wingers who are like, we love Trump. Well, why do you love Trump? I don't know. We just love him. Right. She's like, well, they're saying it for a reason. And with this is full circle with what we began the podcast with talking about, is that they're not just saying that because they're just, their brains don't fucking work. Some of them are, but there's a decent amount of them that they're just misinformed. They're just confused about in terms of, what they're actually talking about, with certain things. So she's like, well, if we can inform them. And I think that that's kind of what her point is that we need to be able to better communicate with people. And I mean, she says a lot of other shit, and there's a lot of other shit that I'm not going to be able to get to. But I think at the end of the day, I think that everything starts with yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy when you feel like you have the moral superiority, when you feel like you have the moral high ground, for you to be like, oh, I can say whatever the fuck it is that I want to say, like, because morally speaking, I have the high ground, right? So for instance, like in a lot of these circles, there's a show called The Leftist Mafia, which is a wild name to call a fucking like progressive. Like,
it's called what is it called? The Leftist Mafia?
Which to me sounds like
immediately not going to listen to it. I don't even care what
sounds wild,
right?
To it. So I think sometimes what happens is that like when people are oppressed, I think what happens sometimes is that they then get the default that they're right on issues because they're being oppressed. So it's like, why wouldn't I listen to you when you're the one who's being held down, right? I've never looked at that as like a one-to-one. Like, just because you're oppressed, it doesn't mean that you're then good. So I still have to audit the shit that you say as anybody else, If anybody else
could have warped your lens.
Well, and it's probably going to warp your lens in terms of like how you see the world and how you relate to the world. Does that mean that I shouldn't listen to you? Absolutely not, right? But it also doesn't mean I should give you the fucking green card so you could just, I'm just going to say whatever the fuck it is that I want to say, what was it called?
Unfiltered or tethered.
Or like unchallenged,
yeah.
Right? That you just can say whatever, and I'm like, I can't be like, I don't know. So I feel like on this particular show, because they have like a bunch of people from like YouTube who do the show, who have their own individual shows, and I feel like on there, that's all that really happens. Is just like a bunch of circle jerking. Anyways, they all have an issue with Anna because of some of the things that she said, and I just think that it's kind of like cutting off your nose in spite of your face. Right?
It really is. And just super quick, Tunde. I don't think people understand that, to reach a political goal, it's not going to be 100% exactly how you see it.
Yeah.
People just assume that, hey, get a bunch of progressives into office, get a progressive legislature, get a progressive president, and all of a sudden we're going to have every single thing that matters to you as a progressive is all of a sudden going to come into law, which is just, not realistic. So, the moment somebody kind of veers slightly away from your own thinking, you all of a sudden feel the need to, speak out against it, and, you're angry about it when, maybe 95% of, that person's core values, or at least what they're trying to accomplish in a political sense in progressivism, lines up with, you.
Yeah.
You're still going to shit on them. Like, it makes no sense. It really doesn't make you, honestly, a better person. And like you said, like, we could get into the details of exactly what she said. It doesn't ultimately matter to me.
Yeah.
I do want to see a progressive nation. I do want to see progressive policies getting pushed and actually, signed into law.
Yeah.
Is every single one of the things that I want going to happen? Absolutely not. But, if I get, 50% of them, I'd be more than happy. If I get 10% of them, I'll be happy.
Well, and it's also, too, how to be strategic to get
Exactly.
what you want. How do you manipulate people?
Yeah.
to bring it full circle.
Wait, Tony, hold on.
There you go. There it is. All right, let's get the fuck out of here. We've been here long enough. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. If you've been rocking with us, we'll be back next week, same time, same place, or relatively same time. I guess we started a little later today. Yeah, it's been fun. Let's get the fuck out of here, guys. With that, we'll hit the usual protocol.
Fade out.
Fade the fuck out. Enjoy your week, ladies and gentlemen.